licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Jade Monkey Eve Monday edition. Fancy Brian, how you doing? You're wearing jade green.
I am. I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to it.
And you got the matching Puma shoes with jade green on them. Where'd you find those bad boys?
Online. It was a wonderful online deal. The way I shop for shoes is, that fits me. That's how I do it.
You have enormous feet.
I have a size 16 wide.
Size 16. That's quite big. We got Evan here with me in Madison. Screening your calls lightly all day long, 844-967-2789. I'm also, ironically, wearing green on Jade Monkey Eve. And for those listening outside the marketplace, you're like, well, what the hell is Crudy talking about? You know, that's a rarity because I'm always right on target otherwise. Big party, man, doing a big party. And we've confirmed some big guests for tomorrow at the Jade Monkey, 217 Cottage Grove Road, Madison, one of Hawk's finest, I would say the funkiest and the finest of all Hawk's finer neighborhood bars, doing a live broadcast from the deck. The weather, at least the weather report, glorious. It's going to be beautiful like today. And doing it outside. So if there's any concerns about, exposure, whatever the case may be, fear not. We're partying outside on the deck at the Jade Monkey. It's patio season, right, Fancy?
It is indeed patio season. I'm looking forward to it. And last year was awesome. I had all of the zombie dust.
We had a hell of a good time. And John Nichols from the Nation, from the Cap Times in Madison. He's coming and partying on the deck. 4:30. A little bit later in the big show, we've got Joe Parisi, Dane County, Wisconsin executive. Joe's also joining us on the deck. And, there's been a mystery. Will Dom come to the party? Because he joins late. He's got sort of a day job now, all that kind of stuff. And late news, Dom is coming to the party. And Dom is, in fact, coming to the party earlier than his normal entree point in this big show. Dom's joining for the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow. I'm going to lighten the party load. I couldn't party without him. It's kind of my wingman and all that kind of stuff. And Fancy, I know you've got other commitments, but we'll hopefully align them so you can be at the party as well.
I want to be there, and I will, whether in spirit, if not in body.
Come on, man. Spirit doesn't count. Unless you're haunting our asses, spirit doesn't count. I'm looking for partiers. And I want you all to be at the Jade Monkey Cocktail Lounge tomorrow. A, to say hi to some political friends. B, to party with the Devil's Advocates. Ain't no party like a Devil's Advocates party. And also, I think it's the unofficial 3 years of Devil Radio, be it on the FM dial. The unofficial. And that, we turned it on and didn't like it. And then we turned it off for a day or two. And then we turned it back on. And, so we got a few birthdays. This bad boy's got a few birthdays. We're celebrating all of them tomorrow at the Jade Monkey. So please join us at the party. And this big show, Fancy Brad, I hate to even start here, but I'm going to. The Great Replacement Theory and the violence that occurred over the course of the weekend, this shooting, and there were multiple shootings around the nation over the weekend, and some a little close to home for some of our Milwaukee listeners. I mean, the Deer District became, as Rebecca Kleefisch would describe it, the Fear District. See what you did there? Now, her solution, the Rebecca Kleefisch, a GOP gubernatorial candidate in the state of Wisconsin, and apparently it's the governor's fault, if there are public shootings outside the Deer District at the FISO Forum. And after game 6, there were, and like 20 people injured. Fancy Brian, were you in town this weekend? Were you out shooting people at the Deer District?
It was not me. I'm such a large person. I make it just a point not to perpetrate crimes. It's pretty hard for me to go and say, no, it wasn't me.
It was that little guy that just ran by with the size 8s on. It was a little scary. I know I got a lot of friends that have been going to the games. That one was on the road, but that was the home game.
That was the home game, yeah.
So not only did you have the 18,000-ish inside the Fiserv Forum, you had another 11,000 or more downtown. And last night, and unfortunately the Bucks have been eliminated. Bucks in 6, not to be this year. Chris Middleton, the absence thereof, too much to overcome. And I'm not claiming, although I am wearing the green today, those that have listened long enough, no, I'm not a huge fan of the NBA basketball. But how could you not love that team? I mean, I've been watching them basically since the playoff run last year. And, too bad the season's over. I wonder, just sort of offhandedly, U.S. senatorial candidate Alex Lasry has wrapped his identity, in that he is a Bucks executive on leave. His dad is a partner in ownership in the team. And even here in the Madison studios, he signed the door. We got the doors for the politicians and candidates and such to signed it. Bucks in 6. Well, that ain't going to happen this year. I hope, the lack of making it to the conference finals and perhaps NBA championship doesn't diminish his candidacy. But when you wrap your candidacy in a championship ring, do you have to deliver every year? I'm just wondering. Anyways, so too bad for the Bucks and all their many fans across the state. I'm getting there. I'm starting to get there. Is it Packer season yet?
Almost there. I mean, the Bucks were frustrating to watch. It just because they just fell apart and they stopped hitting shots at the end of the game, and it just was like they ran out of energy, and it was just
Well, they missed one of their big scorers, a drive and dish guy, et cetera, et cetera. So, too bad Bucks. Now, I would point out, Fancy Brian, I also was at an athletic event over the course of the weekend. And I'd tell this brief story because I don't really want to talk about the great replacement theory and the deaths perhaps inspired, the carnage, the murders. So we'll get there. But let me tell you about this wonderful event that I got to take part in Oregon, Wisconsin yesterday, a Special Olympics track meet. And it was like the Region 6 regional finals. And so anyways, before the big event started, they did a parade of athletes, sort of Olympiad style. And that's pretty cool. The athletes get to get acknowledged. And my son is a Special Olympian, and he had never participated in track before. And I'd helped coach a little bit prior basketball for Special Olympics. And that was sort of a neat experience. I mean, those kids were great. And, we could teach them teamwork and scoring baskets, all those sort of things that I wasn't great at in high school, but, I feel like I am qualified to coach the Special Olympians. But track and field, not so much. How do you train? I mean, I know mostly you run in circles, right? But, I'm not going to run in circles. So I helped the shot put guys. And my son did throw a shot, and he got a ribbon, third. Men's, he's now 18, so now he's a man. He's competing with big dudes like your size and my size, Fancy Brian. Some really big dudes, and he took third, so I was quite proud of him. But, there's never been a fast recruit. Never. As far as I can tell, never, no recruit has ever. Did you see that fast recruit running by? No one ever said that, ever. And my son is competing for the very first time at a quarter-mile distance, 1,600 meters. And that's one lap around the big track, around the football field, et cetera. And, so my son, the gun goes off, and he's never actually had a gun start before. So the gun goes off, and I'm like, well, I'm glad he didn't get skittish, gun violence in the society we live. But anyways, he took off like a bat out of hell. And Fancy Brian, I'm like, oh no, he's being the rabbit. He's way above his pace, and he's going to be in trouble. He's going to make it like halfway, and then he's going to keel over and die on the track because he picked up. They run the stagger on the track, and he was picking up the stagger on everyone, and he was way ahead, and he was dragging one kid behind him, but the rest of the field was falling way back, and I'm like, this can't be good. His first actual race against other people other than teammates at Special Olympics track practice. So he comes down the final stretch, kick time. And Fancy, he had a little bit of kick, and there were, spectators. People were just cheering. And he had never had that sort of adulation up close before. So, he's coming on, he's blowing away the field, and, they're cheering and such, and he won, and I was shocked.
That's awesome,
because he looked like a fast Crudy. So I was like videotaping him just off my cell phone, and I did the old camera guy trick, the sports camera guy, like as the participants get to the finish line, you zoom in on their face to just see the look of anguish and whatever. And then anyways, he crossed the finish line. He throws his arms up in the air like he just won the Olympiad. And to his perception, he'd won the Special Olympiad. And when it was time, and they actually had ribbons, and he now qualifies for state and hopefully participates in the Waukesha. But when he goes to be awarded his ribbon, he does like one fist up in the air. And I'm like, are you doing Black Power, man? Because he looked like Bob Beamon at the 1968, Mexico City Olympics. That's awesome. He's just celebrating.
That's awesome.
One other thought, Fancy Brian. I had bought some luncheon tickets, and I had like $10 change in my pocket. And I'm wearing like athletic pants, so it kept falling out. You could not lose $10 at a Special Olympics track meet. There are so many moral, good human beings at that thing. That money was returned to me twice. Like someone chased me down to give me back $10. I'm telling you, those are the best human beings. The worst human beings rhyme with Tucker. Come back. More Devil's Advocates, the Jade Monkey Eve Monday edition.
I've not yet begun to defile myself.
You are a madman. I want to party with you, cowboy. The two of us together, forget it.
Everybody's doing it.
Make it the greatest radio show ever. The Devil's Advocates is my passion. It must be. I've been doing it for a decade. Running two Wisconsin radio stations, providing the only platforms of truth and resistance against fascism in a critical swing state. That's a vital mission and a tremendous responsibility. And it all costs money. So support the mission and the show. Join and give at patreon.com at the Devil's Advocates Radio. Help me change hearts and minds and just maybe save democracy.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The radio show your mother warned you about.
Actual tyranny of a dictator. Dictator's going to dictate Putin. And what did Trump do? Trump kneeled to the man, embarrassing Republicans. And you're still with the guy. This is your front runner in 2024. You've been smoking some of Mike Lindell's crack. What are you thinking?
They're the GCCCP. We are the Devil's Advocates.
Live weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Warning, Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I forget sometimes what we're called. It's only been a decade doing this every day, right about the same time. This carnage in Buffalo, 10 dead, a self-described white nationalist, the shooter, and he is in custody. And apparently there was more carnage planned. And this plan had been months in the making. Apparently this very same guy had gone to the very same department store some months earlier in March. And the security guard, the very one he murdered, had stopped him at that time. And what he was doing was detailed reconnaissance. And this very same shooter, I don't think we have to say alleged, I think everyone saw him killing the people. Well, his plan was to continue killing people. And he had driven something like 200 miles from home, like a 3-hour plus drive, to target Black people specifically. And how do we know that? Because he left a manifesto, like a 160-page manifesto. And he said effectively in this manifesto that he was inspired by the Great Replacement Theory. Now, we've talked about that on this radio show. Tucker Carlson, rhymes with Tucker, talks about it damn near every night, at least in some small part, on his TV show on the Foxy News Network. And the Great Replacement Theory is effectively that we, the Democrats, have open border policies. We want immigrants to come in and dilute the vote of whitey. That's the way they would put it. You know, Tucker kind of cleans it up a little bit, but that's basically what he's espousing, is this is a purposeful thing. Now, the fact that people that are newly immigrated to the United States, the fact that they're not entitled to the vote, well, that doesn't really matter. It's the dilution. It's the if you let enough immigrants in, the white man, he's just not worth what he used to be. The value of his vote somehow has been diminished. And, if you ask Tucker, we're a white Christian nation, first and foremost, or so he would claim. Now, everything becomes politics nearly immediately. And you don't have to wonder if this is a political issue, because Tucker's been calling Great Replacement Theory, talking about it with frequency. Liz Cheney. Now, I've never had much good to say about the Cheney family, but in deference to the fact that Liz is part of the January 6th committee, and the fact that she has stood up to Donald Trump and called a treacherous insurrectionist former president what he is, has garnered me a little due respect for the congresswoman from Wyoming. And today, according to Chris Cillizza over at CNN, Liz Cheney is calling out her fellow Republicans over the Buffalo shooting. Let me read in just a little bit in this reporting. Less than 48 hours after a deadly shooting by a white nationalist in Buffalo, New York, Wyoming Republican Rep. Liz Cheney minced no words in her assessment of where the blame lies. Here is her quote via Twitter. The House GOP leadership has enabled white nationalism, white supremacy, and anti-Semitism. History has taught us what begins with words ends in far worse. At GOP leaders must renounce and reject these views and those who hold them, which is, well, pretty damning in the words of Chris Cillizza. But is it right? Question mark. The question doesn't have an easy answer. But there is some evidence to suggest that House GOP leaders, of which Cheney was one before being ousted last year for a willingness to criticize former President Trump, have at minimum been willing to look the other way as some of their rank and file have flirted with the major figures in the white nationalist movement. Just a flirtation, just, sort of white nationalist adjacent. In February, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and Paul Gosar of Arizona addressed a conference organized by Nick Fuentes, a prominent white nationalist. For Gosar, it was the latest in a series of episodes linking him to white nationalist leaders and rhetoric. And while some Republicans, most notably Utah Senator Mitt Romney, blasted Greene and Gosar for their attendance, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy was largely mum. Not a real courageous sort, that Kevin McCarthy. This exchange in early March between California Republican, that's McCarthy, and Capitol Hill reporters on the topic is telling. Any update on your conversations with Congressman Gosar and Green? Yes, I've talked to Green. I'm still waiting to talk to Gosar, and I've talked to them. Reporter, but I think you told Jake and Manu Raju that there's no place for that. McCarthy, there isn't no place for that. No, that's a double negative. I guess he means there is a place for that. There's no place for what has gone on with that organization by far, and there never will be in this party. It'll never be tolerated. Will she go again? No, she will not go again, according to McCarthy. Any repercussions for her? Look, any conversations with my members are exactly that, and I appreciate you asking. They have the ability to be able to get committees based upon that time when it comes, which is garbage talk, right? Just word salad, a little bit more. Chris Cillizza, which, well, yeah. Over the weekend, Illinois Republican Rep. Adam Kinzinger suggested that New York Rep. Elise Stefanik, the number 3 Republican in the House leadership, the one that replaced Cheney last year, pushed white replacement theory. The idea that white people are being purposely replaced in America by minorities. A little bit more. Kinzinger was referencing to Facebook ads placed by Stefanik's campaign that use language echoing replacement theory. Here's what the ad said. Radical Democrats, always crats, are planning their most egregious move yet. A permanent election insurrection. Read the text of the ad with the images of migrants crossing the border reflected in President Joe Biden's sunglasses. In a statement released Monday morning, Alex DeGrassi, a senior advisor to Stefanik, said that any implication or attempt to blame the heinous shooting in Buffalo on the Congresswoman is a disgusting new low for the left. They're never Trump allies and the sycophant stenographers in the media. Which, well, okay, but she did it. Come back, more devils.
This is a country where the average person is getting poorer, where the suicide rate is spiking.
Stand back and stand by.
You got to be honest about what it means to lead a country. It means killing people.
Like a herd mentality.
From Bernie to Biden to even Trump supporters, Devil Radio is the political fix for every Wisconsinite. Always streaming at darnwi.com.
If you think you need a home inspection, you probably do. Hi, I'm Todd Osborne of Orion Inspections. And buyers, sellers, and even flippers, I'm talking to you. Knowledge is power when it comes to real estate transactions. You'll get an image pack, searchable, digital, printable report of the condition of the house, things to keep an eye on, any safety issues or defects, and the knowledge to make smart, informed decisions. Your instinct is telling you to get an inspection, and instincts are usually right. Learn more or schedule today at orioninspections.com.
Oh, that really hits the spot.
So we get to put away the Senator Sanders impersonation for a little while.
I'm not saying that he's gone for good, but stopping out here at the Atomic Koi in Fitchburg is really helping the Plastered for Progress agenda.
Yeah, the Koi is a great spot. It's got great vibes, and the patio is perfect for spring.
I'm staying here.
They do have operating hours, Brian.
Time has no meaning here. That's what makes the Koi atomic.
Does that mean that it's always patio season at the Atomic Koi?
Even if the patio's closed.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck. Okay.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished mixed. The Dow up 26 points. Speaking in Florida, former Trump White House coronavirus response coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx has a warning.
Virus does circulate at a higher level in the summer across the southern states. This is because, as you know, it gets too hot to be outside. So whereas the Northeast will be outside and entertaining outside and eating outside, you all move indoors in the summer.
Heading into Memorial Day weekend, Birx says before you go out and visit your vulnerable family members.
Task before you see them, right before you see them. So that you know, in that moment, you're not actively shedding large amounts of virus. If you're still concerned, I would mask.
New York City health officials issued an advisory today, urging New Yorkers to wear masks in all indoor public settings as the city approaches high-risk COVID-19 alert status. I'm Ed Donahue.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Buxton with your headlines. The first cohort of students to receive 4 years of free tuition through the University of Wisconsin-Madison's Bucky's Tuition Promise received their diplomas this past Saturday. In February 2018, they announced the use of private donations to offer 4 years of tuition-free college to students from families with lower income. There were 796 students enrolled under the Bucky's Tuition Promise this year. Since then, income requirements have been raised as the number of students participating has also increased. Forrest Epstein, a former campaign advisor to former President Donald Trump, who helped recruit Republicans to falsify claim to be presidential electors in battleground states Joe Biden won, has joined Tim Ransom's campaign for governor of Wisconsin as a consultant. The University of Wisconsin Board of Regents has selected Jennifer Mnuchin as the next chancellor to lead UW-Madison. Her appointment will take effect August 4th. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
There's something happening here.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday edition, the Jade Monkey Eve edition. Hope you're signed up for the party. Hope to see you at the Jade Monkey Cocktail Lounge, 217 Cottage Grove Road tomorrow. Dom's coming to town early. We're going to start the broadcast at 3. Dom joins at 4. Got John Nichols from The Nation at 4:30. Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. And of course, all of you on the deck partying with us at the Jade Monkey. Can't wait. The Summer of Love 2.0 boosted Boogaloo and the, first unofficial rager of the summer to follow. Hope to see you at the party. So anyways, that's tomorrow. But today we're still talking about the carnage, or at least it is our first opportunity, and you can be a part of the show. You can certainly respond. But carnage over the weekend. And specifically, I guess I'm talking about the targeted murders in Buffalo, the racially motivated targeted murders in Buffalo. But more broadly, there was also some violence in Milwaukee over the course of the weekend in the Deer District or nearby. And on Sunday, and unfortunately the Bucs lost, but there was no entree to the Deer District. They had to shut it down. The team was on the road, and the fans like to come down, especially on a glorious day like yesterday. But out of fear and perhaps respect to others injured a few nights earlier, they didn't do it yesterday. And the question becomes, what exactly inspired this guy? He drops a 160-page manifesto. He drives 3 hours. He does reconnaissance. And this, white supremacist, self-described, goes into a black neighborhood and starts shooting people and does so until basically, he gets captured. And he had plans. More carnage was on the menu. And the Republican leadership, specifically people like Elise Stefanik, well, they've gotten a lot of mileage out of repeating and parroting Tucker Carlson in this, great replacement theory. The thought that somehow immigrants are diluting the white vote, and therefore your whitey vote's not worth as much as it used to be. And that's very problematic, or at least that is the engagement being ginned up on Fox News. I want to bring you the conclusion of the Solicit piece. Here's what Chris says in conclusion. Here's the thing. when you don't condemn and punish members of your own party, talking about Kevin McCarthy and his failure to punish Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene, when you don't condemn and punish members of your own party when they flirt with white nationalists and white nationalist ideology, you open up the door for it to happen more often. The fact doesn't mean that the likes of McCarthy or Stefanik bear direct blame for what happened in Buffalo over the weekend, but there is no question that Republican leaders have allowed intolerance and noxious notions like white replacement theory to fester within a part of their ranks over the past few years. And as Liz Cheney rightly notes, those actions, or more accurately, their inaction, talking about the GOP leaders, their inaction has consequences. And in this case, it's kind of deadly. Another opinion piece, again, your reactions, your calls welcome here, 844-967-2789. Greg Sargent at the Washington Post, his headline, how Elise Stefanik and the GOP sanitize great replacement ugliness. Yes, they do. Let me read. Nothing gets Republicans like Rep. Elise Stefanik angrier than reciting their own words back to them at a politically inconvenient moment. So it is that the New York lawmaker is lashing out at critics who have noted her flirtation with the great replacement theory in the wake of the horrific racist shooting in her home state. The online screed of alleged Buffalo shooter Peyton Grindon posits a conspiracy to exterminate and replace native-born whites in Western nations. He explicitly labels his plan genocide. So it's planned genocide. Anyways, let me read on. Stefanik, meanwhile, declared in ads last September that Democrats would legalize undocumented immigrants in and it was all caps at the time, permanent election insurrection. Now, that's a vile replacement trope pushed by the number 3 in the House GOP leadership and confronted by this in the wake of Grindon's alleged mass murder of mostly Black victims. I don't think it's an alleged. I think you can call it mass murder, but whatever. A Stefanik advisor insisted she has never advocated for any racist position while raging against sickening reports and a disgusting low for the left. Actually, the disgusting low was committed by Stefanik herself, because in this episode, we see how Republicans like Stefanik, they launder and sanitize these ideas in ways that insulate them ever deeper into the mainstream discourse. The extent to which the great replacement ideas have migrated from fringe into something more routine among Republican lawmakers appears new. As many have noted, Fox News Tucker rhymes with Tucker Carlson, has relentlessly promoted versions of the idea. Numerous Republican officials have done the same. What different is the careful mainstreaming of fantasies about a deliberate plot to replace native-born Americans that puts a new spin on the garden variety nativism, or even on various forms of racial nationalism that envision whiteness as central to the American identity, notes Yale professor Philip Gorski, an expert in these movements. Here's his quote, Gorski's quote. It's been gradually moving from the fringes into the mainstream. First, it was the entertainment wing of the GOP. Now it's the political wing as well. Let's note that doesn't mean Republicans are to blame for the shooting. I appreciate Chris Cillizza and Greg Sargent letting Republicans let people know they're not directly related. Well, at least not by these authors. A little bit more. A speaker floats great replacement ideas, then claims it is intended as racially neutral. Carlson is an expert at this ruse, oozing with phony piety. He insists he's just disinterestedly observing what Democrats and supporting immigration actually want to happen. Of course, Democrats support immigration for many reasons, utterly unconnected to electoral politics. What's more, given that Latinos may be shifting Republican and that gaining citizenship takes many years, Carlson cannot even claim with any certainty that this will electorally benefit Democrats in the immediate or the long term. So his motive for railing, pardon me, so Tucker rhymed with Tucker's motive for railing against this cannot be chalked up to mere disinterested observation about Democrats' political incentives. What exactly is the true nature of his warning to native-born Americans? What is he trying to get them to fear? It's about ginning up fear, right? Well, fear is good for business, and it's good for ratings and electoral engagement, just crudies aside. Fear is good, at least if you're Tucker, a little bit more. Stefanik also plays this sanctimonious game. How dare anyone discern any racial overtones in her warning that native-born Americans should fear permanent subjugation from a largely non-white immigrants in their midst? What an absolutely outrageous suggestion. Similarly, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas has declared that Democrats would effect a silent revolution by allowing an invasion of migrants. Patrick carefully couched this as a warning about millions of voters set to impose their will on the current population. And we've heard talk about the imported voters from other Republicans, including Rep. Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, and oh yeah, our buddy, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. Or take J.D. Vance, the GOP Senate nominee from Ohio. He recently claimed that President Biden's open border will ensure more Democrat voters pouring into this country. But once again, for the same reasons that Carlson and Stefanik cannot be permitted to get away with the scam of feigning racial neutrality, none of these Republicans can pretend to be warning only of electoral consequences. Know what I'm saying, people? This sort of trickery works on still another level. It recasts racist conspiracy theorizing in a more acceptable form. As Gorski puts it, the talk about new voters is really a fig leaf to hide white supremacy. And that's a direct quote. Here's another. By wrapping up great replacement theory and concerns about democracy, they're injecting the theory in our public conversation, Gorski told me, in this case, to me being Greg Sargent, noting that this moves it from white supremacist fringes into the conservative mainstream. Now, Nicole Hemmer, a historian of the right, adds a crucial point. She notes that when high-profile figures float these ideas in a more benign form, it seduces people into being more accepting of them than they otherwise might be. Once this tactic legitimizes those ideas and makes them seem less radical, notes Hemmer, this might lead people to explore them further, slowly acclimating them to their more virulent ideological core. Meanwhile, as fascism scholar Jason Stanley details, even the sanitized, coded version will be entirely legible and extremely energizing to the movement's, the true believers, the faithful, right? Here's the conclusion. Greg Sargent at the Washington Post. So when Stefanik declares herself shocked, I tell you, that anyone would suggest that nefarious intentions undergird her great replacement parody, remember, this is a key feature of how the whole sword game is supposed to work. So they bring it to the mainstream. The fringe becomes the GOP mainstream. And some people are, let's just say, inspired to act in violent fashions, targeting, let's say, racial minorities at a grocery store. 844-967-2789. Our pal Gary from Sussex. Gary, how you doing, man?
It could be better. I'm very sad about what all went on between Milwaukee and out in California and Buffalo and New York. It's sad. There's a lot of people are really hurting.
What do you think these things have in common, Gary?
Well, I think the Milwaukee one was people were just carrying too many guns at the time and pissed off and everybody says, shoot, I don't think anything was ever planned that in Milwaukee. The one out in California was obviously planned, and this crazy guy out in Buffalo. Now, the thing is, this guy's a coward. The guy is going to go out there and kill a whole bunch of people, but he doesn't want to get shot himself. So he wears the body armor.
Yeah.
Then he has the gun on his neck, and the cops don't even shoot him. The guy had a gun in his hand. He could have easily dropped the gun forward, a 15-degree angle or 45-degree angle.
You're talking about at point of arrest, Gary, right? The shooter in Buffalo at point of arrest.
Yeah, if the guy had a gun pointed at his neck and I'm telling him to drop it and he doesn't drop it and that gun moves a fraction towards me, I'm going to shoot him dead. The thing is, I'm glad that he's alive. And the reason why is because now we can find out what's going on with this guy's live streaming and who's involved, who edged this guy on to go out there and do this, and who was watching and who knew all this going on. And they should get these people for, conspiracy to commit murder and
well, if they conspired with the shooter, no doubt, then that's a crime. But Gary, the simple act of watching someone else, commit mayhem and violence is not a crime as far as I can tell.
Right. But knowing that it's going to go on, if I knew that this guy was going to go out and kill people and I didn't go out there and say anything, I don't know. That's
fair enough, Gary.
I don't know.
Is it possible that the commonality between all three of these incidents is the guns, Gary? The prevalence, the wide scale availability of these guns.
You're dealing with an NRA guy that has weapons. No, the guns don't kill. It's the people who kill, and you know it. So no.
But people without availability of guns, if you can't buy a gun on every corner, out of every trunk, out of every gun store, Gary, you're going to have less people killing people with guns. Appreciate your call, Gary. We're up against the break, man. Come back with us. More Devils, 844-967-2789.
Beautiful places are always in danger of being overrun by the worst people. Ask anyone who grew up in Aspen.
Stories come to life at your local parks and forests. They're places of wonder, and they're closer than you think. Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Excuse me, pardon?
Getting lost in a city you always wanted to visit.
Pardon, madame. Pardon? S'il vous plaît. Je cherche un restaurant. Merci.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed.
This is so cool.
Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
But do you think the Biden administration's called up Laura Ingraham and making the announcement to the world that we're invading Russia with amphibious troops? Come on, Trump. I mean, and I want to hear fine Trumpsters that want to defend that crap. He's a little late for the early bird buffet. Maybe you people were just naive marks who believed he was a super genius. Then I got some land I'd like to sell you outside of Fukushima.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice hard seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, minocquabrewingcompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice hard seltzer.
And a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. Because freedom.
Here's a little story of the West was one. The white man came and took out everyone. They used dirty blankets and they used machine guns. And they didn't think twice about what they done.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday edition, the Jade Monkey Eve edition. Hope you join us at the party at the Jade Monkey tomorrow. My little buddy Dominic coming down, John Nichols on the deck with us, and Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. And perhaps some other surprise guests. We'll see. 844-967-2789. Curtis from West Dallas. Welcome, Curtis. What do you got for us?
Good afternoon, Cruz. I must say it was nice to hear from Gary because you get his little thing about the downtown Milwaukee. The bottom line is, he justifies it's just a loony person that shot these people. Same thing, the NRA or, the people that always say that, there's just good people, there's bad people with good guns. The bottom line is there's no gun control. You can go on the internet, buy a gun. You can go making that what Biden just made it so you can't make a ghost gun. And now what they do, the Republican Party wants to take them to court because they're suppressing the gun.
A ghost gun being a gun that's made from the parts that aren't labeled with serial numbers. So you're not buying an end product. You're effectively making an untraceable end product, a weapon of violence.
Yeah, correct. And then they came and traced the bullets. That's what's really sad about it. And the thing behind it is that I still say we need to either what Tom Hartman would tell you, we need to license the gun and insure the gun. Because if that kid would have had insurance, those parents that bought that gun for him, as that shot those people in the little grocery store, they would have been prosecuted and they would have been sued for money because it would have been insured with the parents. Because the kid couldn't get insurance on the gun. But they need to insure guns and they need to license guns, just like a car. The car will kill, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've always thought there should be liability for those that would choose a defensive / offensive weapon, depending on your point of view. But if you pack a gun and you intend to defend yourself with that gun, certainly every other aspect of my life and business is insured, Curtis. Why is that exempted? And most of the stuff I do doesn't kill people. Although, don't tell that to CJ.
Yeah, but just like cars. I mean, like motorcycles have to be insured. They might not kill a lot of people, actually, but you might get killed on it. But the whole thing about it is you still have to insure a motorcycle. You still have to license a motorcycle, just like a pedal bike.
You also have to demonstrate competency, Curtis. And that's, of course, never required in guns. And I'm not sure why it is that Republicans are, if they're law-abiding NRA members like my buddy Gary, and Gary's definitely a law and order guy and a guy that, he believes in God, American pie, and all that kind of crap, right? And I'm not saying it's crap. I'm just saying, lumping it together, calling it crap.
Yeah.
But the point is if you're a law-abiding person, why would you want it to be easy for criminals to have their own guns? If Gary just uses a gun as a defensive weapon, keeps it in the truck so he doesn't get mugged or whatever the case may be. And Gary's got a really crazy story about getting mugged by a guy and taking him out to lunch one time. And he's told the story on the radio. And it is crazy. And I believe Gary probably lived that experience. But I'm not at all clear, Curtis, why guys like Gary are always on the side of whatever Republican piece of legislation lobbied by the NRA, which always makes it easier to own a gun, easier to conceal carry that gun. And then we see these tragedies and it's never about the gun. It's always about the crazy person. It's never about the weapon they use or the capacity of the magazine used to feed that weapon. It's always, they're loony. We need more mental health. When can we talk about regulating the guns, Curtis? Never a good time.
Well, if you can't regulate the guns, crew, what I would suggest is just like they want to say, the loony kid, he said. He made that comment. I think it's terrible. Bottom line is the kid should go for 48, 42 or 48 to 72 hours. You have to sign up, you want a gun, get your permit for the gun, and then basically go through a psych thing. And to see if you are really.
Well, I don't know if 48 to 72 hours would have been sufficient in this circumstance. This kid had this cartridge planned for months. He'd been doing reconnaissance missions back in March.
And then his father went ahead. It's almost like the one, just like in Michigan, where the mother went out and bought her husband and wife went and bought their kid a gun. He stayed to the school, and then she said, "Put that gun in your backpack." LOL. And then what the kid do? Shoot up those kids in school. So here we got the same scenario. The father just bought the kid that AK-47 for his 18th birthday. Now, if you know your kid has got these problems in school, they know something. You know what I mean? You can put the puzzle together. That's why I'm hoping the FBI will do that. But all I can say is, Trudy, if that dude would have been black or brown or tan, he would have been dead on the spot. They would never have said, "Oh, put down the gun, get in the car, let's talk about it."
It just wouldn't happen.
Well, I wonder if like Dylan Roof, the South Carolina church shooter, let's not forget, upon his arrest for shooting a bunch of black people at a black church, they took him to like a Wendy's drive-thru because the kid seemed hungry. Maybe he's a little hangry, hence the hate crimes.
Yeah, I believe it was Burger King, but either way, I mean, the outcomes between people having an air freshener in their car and people who have full body armor and an AK-47 or an AR-15, as it were, the outcomes are different, it seems. But I want to point out that we talk about mass shootings, and that's absolutely what we're talking about here. But also, let's not forget that the number one killer is usually domestic violence and suicide. That's normally as far as
via gun death. That's where the guns actually kill the people, is through domestic violence and suicide
for the most part. And usually those situations would never have been better by having a gun in that situation. That's really what we're talking about when it comes to gun control, because again, when you're in those situations and you're getting to the point of, oh my goodness, everything's horrible, having a gun doesn't make anything better.
The Simpsons, I want my gun. Oh, you can't have your gun. There's waiting, but I want it now. Well, you can't have it now. Well, if I had my gun, I'd shoot you right now. Too bad you can't get your gun, right? Come back with us. Crimes of passion. There are days when people have cut me off in traffic and I was passionate enough and I had a gun. I'd at least waved it at him. That's why I don't carry a gun, because, I'm hot-blooded. I'm a passionate man. Can't let things get out of hand and all that kind of stuff. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates. Tomorrow we're going to let off some steam, go into the Jade Monkey Cocktail Lounge. If you are anywhere close to the Madison area, you better be at the party. And I believe we've got at least one more guest booking. I'm working. As I'm working, I'm working. A U.S. senatorial candidate has just confirmed will join us on the deck of the Jade Monkey. If you want to know who, either be at the party or stick around. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates is next.
Just give me my gun. Sorry, the law requires a 5-day waiting period. We've got to run a background check. 5 days? But I'm mad now. Yeah. I'd kill you if I had my gun. Yeah, well, you don't.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Listen to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for progressive news talk radio, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Tune in for Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian every afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. for Wisconsin news and a tangent or two. The Devil's Advocates radio show is live every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. Still the greatest radio show ever. Always streaming at devilradio927.com.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil Radio app.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Biden travels to Buffalo, New York tomorrow. 10 people were shot and killed at a supermarket in Buffalo. Race appears to be a factor in the shooting. The gunman is white. The victims were black. This is White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
We're going to continue to call this out. As we have talked about many times, the president at every chance he's had, when we've seen a violent attack like this, that is, as we say, with hatred and racially motivated, he calls it out and calls it what it is.
The police commissioner in Buffalo says the accused gunman planned to keep on killing if he had escaped the scene. After the deadly shooting at a church in Southern California,
we opened a federal hate crimes investigation today.
to determine further what type of federal charges can be brought.
Christy Johnson is with the FBI. One person was killed. A former neighbor says the suspect's life unraveled after he was nearly beaten to death several years ago. Authorities say he is a Chinese immigrant motivated by hate for Taiwanese people. Infant formula maker Abbott says it's reached an agreement with U.S. health officials to restart production at its largest domestic factory, a key step toward easing a nationwide shortage tied to the plant shutdown earlier this year. The CDC says the number of coronavirus deaths in the U.S. has passed 1 million. The AP's Sagar Magani has details.
The pace has been slowing since the winter Omicron surge. The nation's now averaging about 300 COVID-19 deaths daily, compared to the pandemic's peak of roughly 3,400 in January 2021.
The confirmed number of dead is equivalent to a 9/11 attack every day for 336 days. New York City health officials issued an advisory urging New Yorkers to wear masks in all indoor public settings. The Dow finished up 26 points. This is AP News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
When we built the Devil Radio World Headquarters in Madison, it was filled with construction dust, a real mess. I called Magnific Cleaning Services and they made it shine. A few days later, we moved in and created a whole new mess. Magnific Cleaning Services made it shine again. Now Magnific Cleaning Services is the only cleaners I trust with the keys to my company. They clean Devil Radio affordably and with great attention to detail. Find them online at magnificservice.com for a free estimate. Tell them Devil Radio sent you. Listen to your favorite political talkers no matter where you are. 92.7 FM in Madison and Eastern Dane County, 1580 AM Columbus, north of Madison, and for daytime east-west commutes on I-94, 101 FM in the Shaw, and 540 AM covering eastern Wisconsin all day and covering the Milwaukee Metro, the Wild Counties, Racine, and Kenosha 24/7. Download the free Devil Radio app for your smartphone and take both stations with you everywhere. No excuses, just listen.
The real estate market in Dane County and surrounding areas has been a bit of a hot mess this year. Listings are being picked off above asking prices and without the home inspection contingencies. I'm Todd Osborne, owner of Orion Inspections, and even if I weren't a home inspector, I'd still cringe a little if any of my friends or family tried to buy a home without an inspection. Let's take a good hard look at that house before you sign. Want to know more? I'm here to help. OrionInspections.com. That's Orion, like the constellation, inspections.com.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM, covering all the malarkey you can handle.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The city of Milwaukee imposed a curfew over the past weekend after 21 people were shot in separate instances near the Deer District after Game 6 of the NBA semifinal playoffs Friday night. 10 people were in custody in connection to the shooting, including 5 people who were armed and wounded. All were transported to local hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries and are expected to survive. The youngest victim was 15 years old. 10 guns were recovered from the scene. The watch party for Game 7 yesterday was also canceled, with a curfew in place from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. for people under 21 years old. Forecast show plenty of sun with clouds developing as the day goes on, winds up to 20 miles per hour, and an expected high of 74 degrees. Mainly clear skies later with a nightly low of 48 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Monday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Let's just call it Jade Monkey Party Eve. The big party tomorrow. Please join us. Live broadcast, Jade Monkey, Madison, Wisconsin, 217 Cottage Grove Road. We've got John Nichols. We've got Joe Parisi, Dane County Executive. We've got my buddy Dominic coming to town early to hang out and party with all you fine people. And also, it looks like we have confirmed Tom Nelson, U.S. senatorial candidate. We'll pick a specific time for Tom, but looks like he's coming to the party tomorrow. I've got a statement from a candidate who will not be in attendance. He has already confirmed he has prior plans. A statement from Alex Lasry. From Milwaukee, Buffalo, and beyond, we must put an end to gun violence epidemic. Dateline Milwaukee. In the wake of gun violence travesties taking place across the nation, Alex Lasry released the following statement. Our country should be alarmed at what we've seen in the past couple of days. Shooting after shooting, it's clear we need real change. The Friday night shootings downtown after the Bucks game, the 5 homicides across Milwaukee over the weekend, and the attack in Buffalo are just the latest examples of the gun violence epidemic ravaging communities across our country. Extremism and gun violence are destroying our communities. It's too easy to obtain deadly weapons. It's too easy to imagine a loved one being lost to gun violence. It's too easy for politicians to sit on their hands and do nothing to address this epidemic. It's time to address the gun violence and crime that is continuously washing over our country. We need to properly fund public safety so that we can put out more sworn officers on the streets, double down on the funding for community crime prevention, and invest in efforts to decrease recidivism. But most importantly, according to Alex Lasry, his statement, we need to make sure that we are keeping guns out of the hands of dangerous people. From Milwaukee, Buffalo, and beyond, we must put an end to the gun violence epidemic. So says U.S. senatorial candidate and Bucks executive on, I guess, candidate leave, Alex Lasry. Now, that is quite different than the attitude being struck by, let's just call it, the Republicans, specifically the gubernatorial candidates here in the state of Wisconsin. I referenced Tim Michels and Rebecca Kleefisch, Journal Sentinel reporting. Michels and Kleefisch, Republicans running for governor, called for more police after shootings near the Deer District. Let's see what they have to say specifically. Republicans running for governor calling for cracking down on gun violence Monday after 21 people were injured in 3 shootings near Milwaukee's crowded Deer District. Construction business owner Tim Michels announced if he wins the race, he will fire Milwaukee County District Attorney John Chisholm. Well, he's also going to, fire all the elections commissioners. He's already made that statement. He's going to fire a lot of people. Creative destruction, as they say. He's going to fire Milwaukee County District Attorney John Chisholm, hire more prosecutors, increase penalties for felons caught with guns, and here's the coup de grace, build a $350 million prison. More prisons. That'll solve these problems. Former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch held a news conference outside the Fiserv Forum to tout plans she released months ago to fire Chisholm, hire 1,000 cops around the state, and tap the state patrol to help local law enforcement. Why not the National Guard? Here is her statement. We need Milwaukee to be a safe place for families, the Deer District to be a destination and not the Fear District anymore. Oh, do you see what she did there, Fancy? It's the Fear District.
No, it rhymes.
Do you think Alex Walker wrote that for her? That's so clever. It seems like it came from a wanker.
Well, I hope they workshopped it.
Well, he does work on a big campaign, I hear. While the Republicans pushed for more policing, they steered away from increasing background checks for gun purchases. That's the ironic part, right? They don't actually want to do anything that would really solve any problems. They just like to talk. It's Tony's fault. It's Biden's fault. A trio of shootings, according to this reporting, occurred Friday near the Deer District after 11,000 people gathered to watch Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinal playoff series between the Bucks and the Celtics. 17 were injured in one incident alone. 17 people hurt, one incident. Michels and Kleefisch offered their plans as they gear up for the Republican Party convention right down the road from Crudy and Middleton this weekend. They and other Republicans have made addressing crime a top issue in their campaigns. Well, Rebecca basically launched her campaign with Tony Evers burned down Kenosha. If you elect me governor, I will not burn down Kenosha. Sort of a startling promise she makes to us. A little bit more. Also running for governor are management consultant Kevin Nicholson and state rep Tim Michels. No, they've got that wrong. I think they mean Tim Ramjam of Campbellsport. You know, Black Betty, Ramjam. There's some news on his front as well. It's got a high-powered Trumpster aide working for him now. Ramjam does.
Oh.
Someone should correct this here. But anyways, the winner of the August 9th primary will face Democratic Governor Tony Evers in November. Evers has provided more than $100 million to law enforcement agencies, public safety programs, and violence prevention efforts using federal funds. Help to, let me try that again. I'll try to read the words in the order they're actually written here. Violence prevention efforts, the federal funds meant to help states recover from the coronavirus pandemic. He has called on lawmakers to provide more permanent funding to local governments to help cover policing costs. Here is a quote from the Evers campaign spokesperson, Kayla Anderson. The governor's investments, pardon me, the governor's investments are helping tackle the root causes of crime and investing in proven community-based solutions across Wisconsin. Now, Michels, Kleefisch, and Nicholson have pushed to have Chisholm step down or be fired. One of Chisholm's assistant district attorneys recommended bail of $1,000 for Darrell Brooks. He, of course, is the guy that drove the SUV through the Christmas parade in Waukesha. Brooks is now, well, we mentioned that, killing 6 and injuring dozens of others. It's not clear how Michels or Kleefisch could fire Chisholm on their first day in office, as he is a elected county level representative, a prosecutor, and they would be the governor. And you can't just go fire people willy-nilly in governments you don't actually run. It's not how it works, guys. But anyway, setting that part aside, state law allows governors to remove district attorneys, but only if they receive a formal complaint, holding a hearing and determine there is sufficient reason to unseat the prosecutor. In a statement, Nicholson on Monday blamed crime in Milwaukee on Evers, Chisholm, and of course, Attorney General Josh Call. The 3 Democrats. We're seeing the fundamental dissolution of law and order right before our eyes. Governor Evers, Attorney General Call, and District Attorney John Chisholm have let lawlessness fester, and the rest of us are sick of it. You know what I'm sick of? The fact that no one has really been significantly charged for the Capitol insurrection of January 6th. And I'm not talking about the low level, the prosecutor, the violent insurrectionist. I'm talking about those that planned it, those that coordinated it, those that wanted it to happen. That sort of lawlessness, that's what really bothers me, sir. In March, Nicholson called for establishing a mandatory minimum sentence and mandatory bail amounts and establishing law enforcement liaisons in the governor's office. Well, Scott Walker was the king of mandatory minimum sentences. Scott Walker received lots of campaign donations from a private prison industry group called CCA, I believe. And when the Wankinator was a state lawmaker, just a lowly state rep, well, he was the guy that kept pushing the truth in sentencing laws here in the state of Wisconsin. And I would point across the river to the state of Minnesota, where they often listen to us here on AM 950. You realize Minnesota has an incarceration rate about half of ours. They got 5.4 million people. I think we're at 5.8 million. Relatively equitable populations. And they got half as many people in prison. And regarding their state resources, they spend like half as much on prisons, on incarcerating people. So these newest Republican proposals are spend more money on prisons. Presumably, they're talking about what? Throwing more people in jail, more incarceration, stiffer bond, all these things. Keep them in jail. Lock all of them up, right? Because that way your white fear out in the suburbs that we've ginned up on right-wing talk radio for years. And now we, turn on the Foxy News and they tell you the immigrants are going to replace you. I mean, it's all pretty, white supremacist here on some level. All these calls for more cops on the streets. They're not calling for cops on the streets of Waukesha, are they, Fancy?
Oh, no, not at all. And I want to point out that those people who perpetrated those crimes, the 17 shootings, or all those shootings, most of them are in jail because there was enough of a police presence that they got most of the people there, and the cops didn't even fire a shot. There was a huge police presence already. More cops are going to stop people who already saw cops? Come on.
Let me read one final statement from the Michels campaign. Wisconsin is on the wrong track, and I will work with any willing partners to fix the mess created by generations of politicians who have accepted no for an answer. Michels will not accept no for an answer. Just asked his wife. Come back, more devil's advocates. Better come back. No is not an acceptable answer.
Lock her up, lock her up.
I am taking them to imprison them in prison.
Lock her up, lock her up.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
Lock her up, lock her up.
I keep using the word. I don't think it means what you
Make it the greatest radio show ever. The Devil's Advocates is my passion. It must be. I've been doing it for a decade. Running two Wisconsin radio stations, providing the only platforms of truth and resistance against fascism in a critical swing state, that's a vital mission and a tremendous responsibility. And it all costs money. So support the mission and the show. Join and give at patreon.com at the Devil's Advocates Radio. Help me change hearts and minds and just maybe save democracy.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
Aaron Mostovsky, who rioted at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, was dressed as Captain Caveman. QAnon shaman meets Law and Order.
Right. I mean, he pulled it off a whole lot better than Aaron Mostovsky.
Well, let me read a quote from the judge in this case. I hope you'll leave some of this fantasy world behind. Mostovsky was sentenced to 8 months in prison.
Looking at the guy, he might be one who loses his mattress on the first day. Breaking news.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday 420 break. We're back from it. Hope you're back as well. You can always party with us, the Devil's Advocates, going on the road tomorrow, the unofficial kickoff to summer. It has been quite glorious. The weather finally turned our way, and tomorrow's going to be no exception. It's going to be beautiful on the deck at the Jade Monkey, Cottage Grove Road in Madison. It's worth the Google. And we're going to have a big party. John Nichols, Dane County Executive, Joe Parisi, Dems coming for the party. Hopefully Fancy Brian joins us as well. All my gang's invited. So we'll figure it out. We'll work it out. You just make sure you show up and bring your appetite for a good time. Real quick, wanted to get back to the Republican gubernators, or at least the wannabe gubernators, the Republican gubernatorial race. Well, wanted to talk about Ram Jam, Dominic's buddy, guy that got us arrested, me and you and Dominic, or at least ticketed for entry into a locked building while they were Christmas caroling. Anyways, Molly back at the Journal Sentinel reports a former Trump campaign aide who helped engineer the fake elector scheme has joined the Tim Ramthun campaign for governor. Hiring nothing but the best people, right? This, from the headline on is a little troubling. So, buckle in, folks. I'll take you on a ride. A campaign aide to former President Donald Trump, who helped recruit Republicans to falsely claim to be electors in battleground states. See Wisconsin. Boris Epshteyn, a former campaign advisor to former President Trump's 2020 re-election campaign, is working as a consultant for State Rep Tim Ramjam's campaign for governor. According to Ramjam, the addition of Epshteyn comes at a time when Republican candidates running for governor are escalating their rhetoric. Rhetoric escalation. There's a lot of that about the 2020 election, raising questions about whether they would certify the next presidential election if they did not agree with the outcome. Foreshadowing future malfeasance, if you will. Trump has praised Ramjam, of course he did, for his efforts in the state legislature to overturn the 2020 results, which had been deemed by constitutional scholars and attorneys to be impossible. There were some other terms we were bantering about the scheme, if you will, but we'll let that pass for now. Now, according to the reporting here, although who can believe the Journal Sentinel, Biden won Wisconsin in 2020 by about 21,000 votes, a result that has been confirmed by judges, nonpartisan audits, recounts, among other reviews. But Trump has continued to push Republicans, to embrace the false claims of a stolen election. Don't tell Ramjam their false claims. Here's his quote. He came to me and asked me to join my team. I did not call him, Ramthun told the crowd gathered at the meeting of Hot Government. Talking about Hot Government, a Racine-based group focused on election issues. The group's name stands for Honest, Open, and Transparent Government. Hot Government.
Hot Government.
Here's a quote. I'm very pleased and honored and blessed and humbled that I've got that kind of draw, he said at the April 27 event about Epshteyn. So in other words, Ramjam is not calling the Trump former aides, seeking them out. They're calling Ramjam, saying, you're our kind of candidate and pay me lots of money. And then I'll work for you. I'll be your consultant. Now, I don't know if he's making Gableman money per se, but, one must assume it is a paid position. In January, Epshteyn told the Washington Post he participated in discussions with Trump's legal team to organize the plan that put false electors in 7 states, including Wisconsin. So he was part of the big scheme that found Wisconsin Elections Commissioner Bob Spindell and many other Republican Party, let's call them leaders here in the great state of Wisconsin, led them to commit, let's call it fraud, electoral fraud. They commissioned fraud at the Wisconsin State Capitol. And Fancy Brian, that was the very same week that Ram Jam told the cops to arrest us. And when they wouldn't arrest us, they sent us the tickets. That was the same week that the false electors entered the very same building, only they went, I would say, to commit the crime of fraud. Now, we were there just to, express our First Amendment right to drop a devil tree in the middle of Ram Jam's Christmas caroling.
He was very mad at the way I sang the carols.
I know no one likes when I sing. I've been arrested a couple times for, let's call it caroling. The 10 Wisconsin Republicans who submitted false paperwork to Congress, the National Archives, and a federal judge claiming to be electors said they wanted to preserve their chances of claiming the presidency, just in case Trump and his allies won the long shot legal challenges. Epstein said in a television appearance on MSNBC in January that he was part of the this is a quote, Fancy. He was part of the process to make sure that there were alternative electors for when, as we hoped, the challenges to the seated electors would be heard and would be successful. He has, in the past, praised Rantham's efforts to get colleagues to take up the resolution to overturn the results of the 2020, which has been rejected by the Republican legislative leadership. Here's a quote. On Wisconsin, this is a very interesting issue, a very interesting development. Tim Rantham, Ram Jam, was a member of the House in Wisconsin who put forward the resolution to reclaim the electors, went up there yesterday, and he took a stand, and I said, I fully believe we should move this forward, Epstein told former Trump advisor Steve Bannon in a January 6th appearance on Bannon's podcast, The War Room. That resolution, Fancy Brian, it did not move forward. It did not. By the way, Epstein has been subpoenaed by the U.S. House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Would you call him more of a target or a subject? Come back with us. That's a slight legal distinction. Are they looking to charge you or just ask you a few questions? Come back. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. More of your phone calls as well. 844-96-PARTY.
They hire usually good people.
No, you don't.
People running it that didn't know what the hell they were doing.
No, they didn't.
You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on the box.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Listen to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for progressive news talk radio. Tune in for the political party that is the Devil's Advocates Radio Show every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Join Native Roots Radio from 6 to 7 p.m. for updates about Native news, culture, and activism. The 7 o'clock hour is for local programming, including the Paul Revere Show on Mondays, Busted Pencils on Tuesdays, and the Up North Podcast on Wednesdays.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7, WTTN 1580 AM, and the Devil Radio.
Buffalo shooting. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute in Buffalo.
We're not just hurting. We're angry. We're mad. This shouldn't have happened.
Former Buffalo Fire Commissioner Garnell Whitfield Jr.'s grief at the shooting death of his 86-year-old mother, Ruth Whitfield, one of 10 Black people killed in Saturday's attack on a supermarket. The suspect, 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, is said by police officials to have been planning other attacks against Blacks should he had gotten away from police. In a manifesto attributed to Gendron and posted online, the writer wrote the attack was intended to terrorize all non-white, non-Christian people and get them plan to leave the country. Baby formula maker Abbott says it has a deal with federal regulators to restart production at a factory tied to the shortage. The Michigan factory was shut down following a recall in February, triggered by 4 illnesses in babies who had consumed powdered formula from the Michigan plant. All 4 were hospitalized, 2 died. I'm Tim McGuire.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. Protesters gathered outside the Wisconsin state capitol to rally for abortion rights this past Saturday. The rally was part of a nationwide effort called Bans Off Our Bodies. Madison police say about 1,500 people attended and there were no problems or arrests during the event. The U.S. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against a Janesville landlord accused of sexually harassing multiple female tenants over the last 2 decades. He is believed to have violated the Fair Housing Act by repeatedly making unwelcome sexual comments towards women living in his rentals, entering the home without consent, touching them inappropriately, and offering reduced rent in exchange for sex. The lawsuit seeks monetary damage for those harmed by the alleged harassment, civil penalties, and court order banning the man from discriminating further. The Milwaukee Bucks have been eliminated from the NBA playoffs after losing to the Boston Celtics yesterday, 109-81 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday edition. You can be a part. Always better when you are at 844-967-2789. Want to get back to Ram Jam's newest paid consultant, one must assume. Doesn't really clarify. Is he doing it, pro bono, Paul Manafort a la Rudy style, or is he a paid consultant? Because he called them, right? That's the claim Ram Jam's making. Rantham's claiming Boris Epstein called him, because thought Tim was cut from the right cloth. Like the cut of his jib, if you know what I'm saying, Fancy Brian.
I'm just saying that seems like a situation rife for, some sort of manipulation.
Does it now? Does it?
It just, maybe I've seen it too many times. I don't know.
Well, let me read on. The January 6th committee did subpoena Epstein. The committee issued a subpoena to Epstein in January, along with Rudy Giuliani and other attorneys working for Trump at the time who pushed disinformation and how the 2020 election was decided, sowing, let's call it baseless doubt amongst millions of his supporters. Epstein did not immediately respond to questions from the Journal Sentinel, and the result of the 2020 election in Wisconsin were upheld by recounts and court rulings in the weeks following. And the state's 10 Democratic electors gathered at the state capitol on December 14, 2020, to formally send the state's electoral college votes to Congress. And then we put a bow on the article because that's where it all ends, right? Not really, right? Never ends. They're still litigating. The same day, as Molly Beck takes note, the group of Republicans met in the Capitol to do the same under a plan outlined by Trump's backers, including the aforementioned Epstein. In March, the Wisconsin Elections Commission unanimously decided not to sanction 10 Republicans, including one of their commissioners, for falsely claiming to be presidential electors in 2020. Well, that's an interesting footnote, but I would point out perhaps it's not illegal under Wisconsin state law. Perhaps a better venue to charge these people would be on a federal level through the Department of Justice, let's say. And the Attorney General from the great state of Michigan, a couple times she's been on this fine show, Dana Nessel, she made just such a referral. She said there was clear evidence of crimes under Michigan law, but because of the multi-jurisdictional nature of the, let's call it alleged fraud, the violations, well, thought the Department of Justice was the more appropriate venue for investigation. Now, anyways, you can't stick it to them unless there is a violation you can point to under Wisconsin law. And I'm not clear they broke Wisconsin law per se. A little bit more here. Among the 6 commissioners who concluded there was no evidence of election violations was Bob Spindell, his own judge, jury, and non-executioner in this case. Judge Bob, who is also one of the 10 Republicans who posed as an elector in 2020, he voted to let himself off the hook. How generous of him. Now, Jeff Mandel, he's also been on the Big Show. A Madison attorney who filed a complaint against the false electors said at the time the ruling ensured that supporters of whoever loses future presidential elections will draft new Republicans to act as fake electors. Mandel's quote, Wisconsin Republicans will do anything to try to win an election, even collude with election conspiracy theorists and undermine our democracy. Pardon me, that didn't come from Mandel. That came from the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Republicans are after one thing, preventing or discouraging enough people from voting to change the outcome of future elections. 844-967-2789. So, there's that. I don't like how they characterize it. They almost act like they did nothing wrong. There's nothing to see here. Who's coming to town this weekend, Fancy Brian? And I think she's kind of a big deal. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren coming to town.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's going to be campaigning on behalf of Mandela Barnes, my understanding. U.S. Senate election updates. Warren to campaign for Barnes in Madison and Milwaukee. So if you can hear my voice, you could probably go see Elizabeth Warren with Mandela Barnes this weekend. Let's see, May 16th, Elizabeth Warren to campaign for Barnes. That's tomorrow, actually, right? What is today?
Today's the 16th.
Oh, so they're doing it today. Never mind. This is old news. I've already missed the headline. Elizabeth Warren, Dem from Massachusetts, will headline fundraising events for Mandela Barnes this week in Madison and Milwaukee. Warren is expected to tout Barnes as the strongest candidate to take on Rojo, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson in the fall, and the one best positioned to defend abortion rights. She'll be appearing with Barnes Friday night in Madison and Saturday in Milwaukee. So you didn't miss the event. Sorry, folks. I got a little confused in that the announcement was made on May 16th. This is, sort of the candidate news of the day for May 16th. Sarah Godlewski, I don't think we've mentioned her yet. She is also a U.S. senatorial candidate. Godlewski released a new plan to address mental health, vowing to expand access to everyone everywhere. State Treasurer Sarah Godlewski released a plan to address the country's mental health crisis. Here is a quote from her in her campaign. Our system needs a major overhaul, so I'm putting mental health solutions front and center in my campaign and will do the same in the U.S. Senate. Now, key proposals in the plan include streamlining licensing procedures for mental health professionals, fully funding, that'd be a novel thought, and implementing the new 988 Suicide Prevention Lifeline and supporting the Kids Online Safety Act of 2022, a children's online safety bill. Now, Godlewski urged the opioid manufacturers to be held responsible for the damage they've caused to families across Wisconsin and the United States. The plan backed, and again, a quote from Godlewski and her plan, developing mental health screening programs in the public schools and an increase in federal funding for hiring school counselors, nurses, and psychologists. So that's the Godlewski plan. And there's more, but I'm done reading from that. 844-967-2789. Just arbitrarily. I was done at that moment. It's like Forrest Gump. I'm kind of tired. I'm going to be done reading that.
All right. It's decisive. I like that. It's a strong opinion. It's a bold move.
Well, there were other updates, but they're not from May 16th. And, older updates, well, that's old news. We only want future happenings, like the fact that Elizabeth Warren's coming to town on Friday and Saturday. So if you got a big checkbook, go scratch a check and go see her in Mandela. I wonder if there'll be any public non-paying sort of events with the senator. I like her quite a bit. I've seen her campaign a couple times in the state of Wisconsin, and I'd go cover her, but I'm not paying a cover charge, if you know what I'm saying. Here is a little coverage on the great state of Wisconsin and this U.S. Senate race happening here. A lot of the concentration of the article on the U.S. Senate race. Dan Merica from CNN, and I swear to God, that's his name, Merica. Merica. Just like the Trumpsters say it. Merica.
Dude didn't even have to learn how to read, let alone write. All he had to do was make his own T-shirts.
Dan's, anyways, I suspect Merica's had a few insults tossed his way by the real Americans who don't like the CNN sort. But here's the reporting. Dateline, New Glarus. There better be some beer involved here. It was the moment of the lifeless body of a 1,500-pound steer was hoisted in the air, blood pouring from its neck. This is something of a colorful description they start with. That Mandela Barnes knew he was a long way from his comfort zone. Mandela Barnes to Barnes tour, right? Born and raised in Milwaukee, Barnes' political upbringing is intertwined with Wisconsin's urban heart, a place that could not have been more different than the scene at Hosley's Meats here in rural New Glarus. It's
so bad. There's blood everywhere.
As the still steaming bovines were processed, the state's lieutenant governor turned to a few aides, his eyes the size of saucers. This was new for him, he later admitted. Well, you're not butchering cattle back at the condo in Milwaukee, Mandela? The stop was one of many for Barnes for a week-long swing last month through rural counties ahead of Wisconsin's Democratic Senate primary this summer, the precursor for one of the party's best chances to flip a Senate seat in 2022. Well, from America's lips or writing to God's ears, God would never turn against America. See what I did there? The journalist named America here. Anyways, it was evidence that Democrats realized the path to unseating two-term Republican Senator Ron Johnson will require winning back at least some of the rural voters who fled the party back to Trump. Barnes is far from the only Democratic Senate candidate looking to activate these voters. Milwaukee Bucks executive Alex Lasry has held events touting his plan for rural Wisconsin. State Treasurer Sarah Godlewski, who was born in Eau Claire, has made appealing to rural voters central to her campaign. And our buddy, Outagamie County Executive Tom Nelson, also argues he is the only candidate from a rural part of the state. Now, a recent Marquette University Law School poll found the Democratic race to take on Johnson wide open, with 48% of Democrats and independents who lean Democrat undecided. That's a lot of undecideds, Fancy Brian. Never trust an undecided voter. Barnes had 19% to 16% for Lasry, 7% for Godlewski, 5% for Nelson. Now, I would also point out there's like 7 more candidates. You often hear the ads for attorney Peter Pekarsky here on our station, but there's like 7 more of them. These are just the 4 most prominent Dems running to be the U.S. Senate nominee. In case you're listening from outside Wisconsin, didn't know there's nearly a dozen of them. For Barnes, part of the trip was admitting that while he is somewhat politically out of place in stretches of rural Wisconsin, he is willing to listen. Here's a quote. Some people think you buy a Carhartt jacket and some boots, take a couple of pictures on a barn, then that's your appeal. It's way deeper than that, he said after a 90-minute roundtable with farmers, some of whom previously voted for Rojo. The farmers in Barnes spoke about issues Democrats are likely to face this year, including inflation, cost of fuel, and a misunderstanding of the farming way of life. And reflecting on the roundtable, Barnes added, and here's his quote, "People don't feel like their voices are being heard." Now, for years, Democratic candidates, especially on the statewide national level, have been rejected by voters in less populated areas, with every 2 years bringing a new rock bottom for the party standing outside its urban and suburban comfort zones. The trend began with the rise of the Tea Party in 2009 as rejection of then President Barack Obama, but was accelerated by Trump's ability to pit urban Dems against those he branded the forgotten people. The break was aided by a growing belief that Democrats cared less about the rural way of life than they did about more liberal city dwellers, something amplified by a constant drumbeat of talking points from conservative media outlets. And let's not forget right-wing talk radio. Now, I'm going to set this article aside for a minute. We'll come back to some reporting on the U.S. senatorial race and the Dems' efforts here in the state of Wisconsin to appeal to rural voters. But something I would point out, the actual waking up of the outstate, the low propensity voters, it wasn't Trump. It was the recall of Scott Walker. First-time voters came out of the woodwork to vote against the recall process, apparently, in some small part, perhaps to support the wanker. But those voters, those once activated voters, are now every cycle voters. And they're being charged up and engaged by guys like Tucker Carlson, rhymes with Tucker, and guys like Dan O'Donnell and Mark Belling, Vicky McKenna. And hell, this state has 81 right-wing talk radio stations cranking out 235 hours a day. There's lots of them reinforcing that message. More devils, come back with us. Just one of us.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
I will do anything it takes to win. It's bad. It's so bad. There's blood everywhere.
One break coming.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Taking them on their first real roller coaster.
Okay, buddy, come on over.
I don't know.
Let's measure.
Okay.
You're just tall enough.
Yes!
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
My senator and yours, Ron Johnson. See a big story about him at the Hill this week in Hill.com. Wisconsin Democrats and Republicans both want Ron to run, but for different reasons. I think some Democrats think, oh, he's just so crazy. Of course we'll beat him, which is what they said about Trump too. Miss that guy? Not much. Not much. He used to come around.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in deep red northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com super PAC tab.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Don't want to be an American idiot.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday edition. My little buddy Dominic joining us very, very soon. Got Fancy Brian in the Shaw. Got Evan here in the world headquarters, lightly screening your calls. You could join us anytime here to the end of the show, 844-967-2789. Fancy Brian talking a little bit about the big senatorial race here in the great state of Wisconsin. It's going to heat up, man. Summer's upon us. Tomorrow, the unofficial start of summer, the Jade Monkey Party, but put it on your calendar, circle it, because we're calling it summer as of tomorrow, and we'll be partying, because that's what we do. It's summertime. Let me read from the reporting of America over at CNN. That's literally the man's name. I'm not making fun of him. For years, Democratic candidates, especially on the statewide, I know I'm being a little redundant, bear with me, some new people joined. For years, Democratic candidates, especially on the statewide and national level, have been rejected by voters in the less populated areas. I'm talking about here in the state of Wisconsin. And they talked about the trend beginning back in 2009, sort of a, a rejection of Barack Obama. And we saw a red wave here in the state of Wisconsin in 2010. For those that don't have, sort of Dory-like, goldfish-like memories, Scott Walker swept into election. The Wankinator was the governor. Of course, Ron Johnson won his first elective office. First time he ran, he became a U.S. senator. Only took him like $9-10 million. A little bit more. That dynamic has led to a political map of Wisconsin, like many states across America, becoming a series of blue islands in a sea of rural red. When Obama carried Wisconsin in 2008, he did so by winning 59 of the state's 72 counties. 12 years later, Joe Biden carried the state by winning just 14 counties, an uptick from the 12 Hillary Clinton won while she lost the state in 2016. And this is not a new problem for Democrats either. Obama, in the wake of Trump's 2016 win that underlined the party's rural problem, warned Democrats of becoming a coastal liberal latte sipping party full of politically correct, out of touch folks. But the party has continued to struggle. Apparently, they didn't take the man's advice. In 2018, Democratic Senate incumbents in North Dakota, Missouri, and Indiana were drowned by a Trump-propelled rural surge, losing re-election despite increased turnout in suburban and urban areas amid that year's blue wave. The trend continued in 2020. Biden's support with suburban and smaller metropolitan areas delivered him the White House, but Trump sustained his strong rural margins. And in 2021, Virginia Democrat Terry McAuliffe faced intra-party criticism for essentially ignoring rural voters in his gubernatorial loss to Republican Glenn Youngkin, who managed to improve on Trump's rural margins from just a year earlier. Now, McAuliffe and his top aides believe the party had hit rock bottom in rural America, an assumption that is proved wrong on Election Day. Today, Democrats hold only 3 of 20 Senate seats in the country's 10 most rural states. John Tester in Montana, Patrick Leahy in Vermont, and Joe Manchin. Good old Joe Manchin, son of a... Joe Manchin in West Virginia, with 2 rural state independents caucusing with the party, Bernie and King, I believe, in Maine. Of the 30 seats in the U.S. House from those states, Democrats hold only 6. We've got work to do out here, said Wisconsin State Senator Brad Pfaff, who's running to succeed retiring Democrat Ron Kind in a district that includes much of the state's pastoral Southwest. As a national party, we've moved away from the basics. I know that people out here feel overlooked and left behind. I hear that every single day, and they have a reason to be. He added, as Democrats, we've missed it. A little bit more from this article. For Democrats, the focus is no longer about winning rural counties. It's about keeping the margins down so the party's dominance in urban areas and newfound success in suburban communities can propel them to victory. That's the playbook Wisconsin Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin wrote in winning a second term in 2018. Now, you want to know who's the best damn politician in the state of Wisconsin? It's Tammy Baldwin, hands down. How do I know? Look at her margins of victory. Here's a quote. Voters of Wisconsin do have some independent traditions, and especially in rural areas, showing up matters, listening matters, putting in the work matters, Baldwin told CNN, saying the best thing Democrats can do is point out that they're fighting for and what Republicans are standing against. Now, Baldwin is the exception. However, Republicans, especially since Trump's first run for president, have dominated rural areas, and many Democrats are publicly and privately wondering whether it's possible for voters who backed the former president to be brought back to supporting Democratic candidates. Now, Barnes drew scorn in 2018 when he said, "You can keep them," about voters who backed Obama but then voted for Trump and still supported the Republican president. He attempted to clean up the comment. "I could have been more clear," he said at the time, but when pressed on the issue recently, he didn't back away from the broader idea. Again, a quote, "It depends on if they think the election was stolen or not," he said about winning the two-time Trump voter. For somebody who thinks the election was stolen, that is going to be an almost impossible sell. But there are still people around who just truly feel that they've been forgotten. But I truly push back on this notion that we can't be competitive in the rural parts of Wisconsin, he added. Do I think we're going to win a bunch of rural counties this election cycle? No, but we're going to make a dent, a substantial dent. We're going to lower those margins. As for whether a 35-year-old black man from Milwaukee is the best candidate to cut into the margins in predominantly white and older areas, Barnes laughed. Obama was our high watermark from Chicago, an even more complicated name than mine. I don't think the problem's the name. Mandela, hard for me to say, Mandela Barnes won statewide office. I mean, I think he was an invigorating factor on the ticket with Tony. Barnes' opponents mostly say the same thing on reaching out to rural voters. They plan to show up, listen, and learn. Candidates such as Godlewski and Nelson tout their rural credentials by noting their ties to areas beyond Milwaukee and Madison. But whether that outreach will mean similar margins in rural counties, that's another question. A quick quote from Godlewski. "That's how we lose," Godlewski said, the idea that Trump voters are winnable for Democrats. "What we have failed at in the past is we just show up a few months before the election and we expect them to say, 'Oh, great, thanks for showing up. Now you care about me.' And really, they're like, 'Where have you been?'" Godlewski admitted there's a certain segment that you're not going to be able to change who will fall on their sword for what they believe in. But she said there's a large middle in Wisconsin who are looking at who is the best candidate that's going to actually work for me and deliver for me and, quite frankly, get me. Well, here's the thing I love about our audience. They get me. Fancy Brian, they truly get me. And, I appreciate when they join us and be on the phones. 844-967-2789. The Happier Happy Hour. Tom joins next. Stick around, please. I know you will.
The level of stupidity is incredible.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
2/3 of U.S. senators are millionaires, including Ron Johnson, who married into a billionaire family. I'm Tom Nelson, not a millionaire, just the son of a Lutheran pastor who approves this message. I need your help to get to the Senate to make sure people like Johnson finally pay their fair share. Go to nelson4wi.com, that's F-O-R, and you can give a few bucks so we can make sure everyone has a voice. Pay for Right Nelson for Wisconsin.
What the heck are you doing?
I'm making a patio.
When I told you it was patio season, I didn't mean we had to make one of our own.
But I got all this grout all over me now.
Yeah, but I meant we need to go see Hawk at the all-new Jade Monkey on Cottage Grove Road. They've got an awesome patio, and it's the perfect place to stop for a cocktail after the show.
Jade Monkey has a patio? Why don't we go there?
Exactly. Now put down those power tools and let's go grab a drink.
It's all right. I was done anyway.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. An 18-year-old white New York State man is charged in Saturday's attack on shoppers in a Buffalo supermarket, killing 10 blacks and wounding a number of other people. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the shooting and other such horrendous attacks expose something deeper than politics in this country.
This is not about politics. This is about people's lives.
what we saw on Saturday, and many times, you think about El Paso in Texas, you think about the Tree of Life in Pittsburgh, you think about the Pulse nightclub in Florida, the Mother Emanuel in South Carolina. These are events that are have been led by some dark forces that still exist today.
The family of an 86-year-old woman killed in the attack voiced their grief and anger.
My mom was my best friend.
Robin Whitfield, whose 86-year-old mother, Ruth, was killed.
We went fishing together. We went camping together. And you know, Black people don't usually camp, but we did. And I'm going to miss that.
Also speaking at a news conference, the victim's son, Garnell Jr.
We're not just hurting. We're angry. We're mad. This shouldn't have happened.
Attorney Ben Crump was also there to support the family.
Just like America responds to terrorism, America needs to respond to this act of bigotry.
I'm Shelley Adler.
The victims also include a man buying a cake for his grandson, a church deacon helping people get home with their groceries, and a supermarket security guard who exchanged gunfire with a shooter who was wearing body armor. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden traveled to Buffalo tomorrow amid calls to find a way to end the violence. Previous efforts to restrict guns following other mass killings around the country were thwarted in Congress. Declines for the S&P and NASDAQ on Wall Street. The Dow gained 26. This is AP News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Verona to Sun Prairie. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Listen to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM, Madison's home for progressive news talk radio, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Start your mornings off with Matt Flynn Direct from 6 to 8 a.m. Then join the Stephanie Miller Show every weekday morning from 8 to 11. The Tom Hartman program is live middays from 11 to 2. Right here on Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM.
Come party with the Devil's Advocates. Tuesday, May 17th at the Jade Monkey Cocktail Lounge. Come christen the Summer of Love 2.0 Boosted Boogaloo. The new Jade Monkey is still the funkiest of all Hawk's finer neighborhood bars, 217 Cottage Grove Road, Madison. And the first party of the summer could be the greatest night of your life. So join the Devil's Advocates, our political guest, and be a friend of the devil. May 17th, live broadcast from the Jade Monkey patio, 3 to 6 p.m. First epic rager of the summer to follow.
From Portage to Watertown, Devil Radio on WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through your day.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The Ho-Chunk tribe's dream of opening a massive casino complex in Beloit cleared its last hurdle Friday when the Bureau of Indian Affairs gave the project its final blessing. The project has been in works for about 10 years as the tribe earlier negotiated agreements with state and local authorities. Governor Tony Evers approved the $405 million project last year. The Ho-Chunk Nation sees this project as an investment to recover from the pandemic and create new economic opportunities for everyone. In addition to the casino, the project calls for building a convention center, hotel, and water park that would create 1,300 permanent jobs and 3,000 construction jobs. Forecasts show plenty of sun with clouds developing as the day goes on, winds up to 20 miles per hour and an expected high of 74 degrees. Mainly clear skies later with a nightly low of 48 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Jade Monkey Eve Monday edition. How you doing, my little buddy?
Curdy, I am fantastic. Thank you, my dear friend Evan and Fancy Brian, our fair audience. Happy Monday, happy hour to us all.
Well, depending on what you believe, Dom, God or Mother Nature, somebody's going to give us a healthy dose of some great weather to party in tomorrow. And I've got your confirmation, right? You are confirmed for the party.
I am confirmed. I'm bringing the sunshine, Crudy. It's not God, it's Mother Nature. It's me.
Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, as we kick off the big broadcast, you'll join a little bit later at 4, right? Joining me in Madison
4
at
p.m.
4.
Yeah, all right, man.
3 o'clock kickoff, 70 and sunny.
Oh, most excellent.
We'll be doing an outside party affair on the deck at the Jade Monkey, and we've got some fine guests. I booked a few guests, Tom. I've got John Nichols joining us on the deck at 4:30
from the Nation,
from the Nation and the Cap Times locally. Damn it, now I've forgotten for a second. Oh, Joe Parisi, my county executive, Joe Parisi, joining after 5. And I might have been misinformed, or at least I've left the audience misinformed. One of the U.S. senatorial candidates, I announced Tom Nelson was going to join us. Apparently, he's got a family conflict. And, you know, basically, Tom, you can either win election or you could stay married, but apparently you can't do both at the same time. So Tom's opting for the staying married part instead of getting the tremendous devil's advocates bump. I know Tom's been to prior parties.
Next time, Tom.
Tom is expected to join us just a little later in the week.
All right, excellent.
And Mark Pocan joining, I guess that's a week. We'll talk about Mark next week.
There's so many guests coming on. Look forward to it. Tomorrow's gonna be a blast, folks. Make sure you come out if you can make it. I'll be there at 4.
Also, Dominic, Bill Press and I are scheming a Bill Press event in the fall. We're comparing notes and dates and trying to get a venue. Yeah, like a Bill Press party and panel discussion.
Oh, and Bill Press knows how to party, man. So that would be a blast.
Bill Press likes to party like we like to party down. Ain't no party like a devil's advocates party. You'll see tomorrow. Come be a witness. So anyways, let's talk a little politics here in the happy hour, Dom. I can't tell you that I'm happy the Bucks lost. I think we can put to bed the whole Bucks in 6 thing, can't we?
Yes, that's now over. I got my Brewers cap on today. I've switched gears, didn't miss a beat.
I don't think I currently own any Bucks gear, but I am wearing a well-worn Badgers cap today.
Oh, that red hat looks like a mega hat, man. We'd be careful about that.
It's actually frayed and pink. The only thing standing tall on it's Bucky at this point. But Dom, the Deer District.
Yeesh.
What happened? The shootings going on. Oh, real quick. Saw a guy at the Deer District, at least photographed. This was before the mayhem, earlier in the evening. the game 6, and a guy was wearing let's call it a champ stamp, like a tramp stamp, but on a dude.
on the lower back, around the waistline.
Yeah, this was a thick back. I mean, this would be like, like somewhere between Fruity and a fancy Brian back.
Yeah, right.
So, more A-frame than B-frame, if you know what I'm saying.
So a large billboard size, like, go Giannis, we love the Bucks in 6, national champions.
This guy was sporting a champ stamp, Bucks in 6 forever tattoo. That covered, I mean, it was bigger than Nixon's face on Roger Stone's back.
Was it an actual real tattoo, or was it press on?
I cannot tell you for sure, Dom. I didn't go scraping, if you know what I'm saying.
That is some serious dedication. Now, people do goof around and put things on, but if you are going to go get something like that tattooed on your lower back, to that's some serious dedication.
Well, I got to tell you, Dom, if I got even like a temp tattoo on my lower back, I don't know what your batting order is in the shower, but lower back is a barely never kind of a deal. There's some areas of concentration. Lower back's not one of them.
You don't wash your lower back, Mike?
Not.
You don't get sweaty around the waistline after working out? Come on, man.
Well, the working out part, I avoid the workout, and therefore the sweatiness.
What is that smell?
844-967-2789. So,
yes.
What happened, dude? Like 3 shooting incidents, including a mass shooting on Water Street.
Right. And it came in, as living here near Milwaukee, and watching the game, did not make it down to the Deer District this time.
But you have gone prior.
Yeah, I was at the last road victory that the Bucks had. Cousin Joe was in town from Detroit. We went down, checked it out, had a blast. People were partying, having fun.
Are there bathrooms? I have not been to the Deer District for a game. Are outdoor restrooms somewhere to relieve oneself?
I mean, there's a bunch of bars and restaurants all around it. So I just kind of, pop in there. I mean, I'm assuming there are some porta potties, but I haven't had the occasion to use.
You're in for the game. So when you're in,
it's all kind of a fenced-in area. I mean, they do a great job of crowd control and funneling people in and out of there. So from that perspective, it's a finely tuned machine.
But not for Game 7, because party's over, City Girl. 3 mass shootings apparently the limit on a single Game 6 loss.
I mean, just what a travesty, and so disappointed in our city here in Milwaukee. I mean, the good news, I guess, is that nobody died, but it gets hot and people get feisty. And when you have, the availability of guns, like you can get sneakers, everybody's got one. So and we haven't seen a whole lot of reporting as to the specific circumstances of the mass shooting. I think the other shootings, they don't know if they're related. There's a little more detail on those, but we don't know. I don't know if this was, something with an argument that started and people started shooting at each other.
Yes.
My understanding is there are about 10 people in custody and 8 or 9 confiscated weapons.
Well, here is the reporting from the Journal Sentinel, specifically on the later Water Street shooting. Police have arrested 11 people in connection with the shooting. None of these suspects have yet to be identified. And police Saturday afternoon released a list of those arrests. They included a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 28-year-old, a 29-year-old, a 30-year-old. If you're playing bingo at home, you damn near got one. All of whom were wounded in the shooting and then subsequently arrested. So this must have been a relatively close range, people shooting at each other. A lot of people get wounded. And everyone gets arrested. There are 6 additional arrests of a 19-year-old, 3 20-year-olds, a 23-year-old, a 24-year-old. No additional information about the suspects
or the circumstances. And so, I mean, there's no, thankfully, nobody's dead. But again, you have such an easy commodity to obtain these days. And I wonder if this is what paradise looks like for the Republicans. If they want everybody to have a gun without a concealed carry permit, and if you're in a crowd and people start shooting at you, do you then now just start shooting back? And it's just a free for all. Everyone's shooting at everybody, right?
Well, the good guys will always shoot to kill. They'll, God will guide their bullets.
Yeah, but how do you know who the good guy is when people?
Well,
are shooting?
if I'm shooting, I'm the good guy, right? I'm protecting me.
Everybody's the good guy. You know, so that it's just a crap show. Let's just put it that way. And the reaction locally from, of course, some of the Republicans running for governor here in the state of Wisconsin.
Some of Kleefisch and Michels.
Yeah, well, it's just not the gun laws. Those are fine. We got good gun laws on the books. It's everything else. And to some of the reporting, as mentioned in the Journal Sentinel, the current administration, the Evers administration, have allocated like $100 million for law enforcement support. So they're playing politics with it. They talk about, canning Chisholm, the local DA, and I'm not sure that's something you can just do on a dime. So, the Republicans are playing politics with it. The rest of us have to live with a well-armed society. And when you get a hot party going on at the beginning of summer and people are feisty and all of a sudden shots ring out. And again, we don't know the circumstances, but, people start shooting at each other. And if everyone's armed, everybody's shooting. Hence, we have 3 separate shootings and 21 people shot in Milwaukee downtown.
Well, businessman Tim Michels had a proposition, Dom. More prisons, $350 million in new prisons. Now, his family does own a big construction corporation. Perhaps he's trying to line up some work, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But in the state of Wisconsin, we already have twice the incarceration rate of our neighbors to the west, Minnesota. Roughly an equivalent population produces half as many prisoners and half as much expenditure on incarcerating people.
Well, I mean, listen,
and it's not like they don't have crime in Minneapolis.
Well, no question.
Or anywhere else.
And what is the answer for Republicans when it comes to an excess of illegal drugs? Oh, we gotta put more money, more things towards the border. We gotta stop all this influx of drugs. We have an influx of weapons. We have a plethora of weapons. Everybody's got one. Most people probably don't have one legally. And what is their solution for that? Well, it's not like their solution, their proposed solution.
No background checks.
No.
Got to draw a line. No background checks.
Universal background checks.
That's right there in the Constitution.
Even
under
so,
the non-enumerated rights extended, right?
When everybody has one, it's a problem, and that's what's happening right now. So in some regard, it's what the Republicans want is a well-armed populace, but the concern that I have is that, well, if everybody's armed, you get these kinds of situations.
Well, in the Constitution, the enumerated part was a well-armed and regulated militia, right?
Yes.
So what if we did this? Like I'm an out-of-shape guy. I'm only speaking for me. But if you want to own a firearm, you've got to train to be part of the militia. You got to march. You got to do push-ups. You got to pass a PT test. I think our militia numbers would dwindle dramatically because people would opt for cheese curds.
Doesn't help with the illegal guns, though. That's the problem.
I'm just trying to, push back on the Constitution for a minute.
Oh, of course.
And Gary, come back. More Devil's Advocates. You can join us. 844-96-PARTY.
Everybody!
Leave the gun. Technical only.
Did you say I have a plethora?
Make it the greatest radio show ever. The Devil's Advocates is my passion. It must be. I've been doing it for a decade. Running 2 Wisconsin radio stations, providing the only platforms of truth and resistance against fascism in a critical swing state. That's a vital mission and a tremendous responsibility. And it all costs money. So support the mission and the show. Join and give at patreon.com at the Devil's Advocates Radio. Help me change hearts and minds and just maybe save democracy.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at P4PPC.org.
Warning, listening to the devil's advocates may expose you to opposing views.
It's scary. Maybe I'm coming a little bit more left, but
well, it's not left. It's good governance, Steve.
It's good to be exposed to different ideas, and I do appreciate that you do put that out there on the airways, because a lot of times where you just get a little soundbite of this or a little bit of that, and that's the end of it. You're to be commended for that,
Dave. I'm glad you finally come around to commending the greatest radio show ever, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Here's that song again. Here's that song again. For the 100th time today. Here's that song again. It's gonna be stuck in your head all day. Here's that song again. It will make you cray cray.
You love your kids enough to watch that TV show a bajillion times. Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat for their age and size. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the happier happy hour, rolling through it. Your phone calls, they're always appreciated here at 844-967-2789. Now, Dom, we talked about the violence, the incidents of violence after Game 6 in Milwaukee. But the more troubling incident, of course, was the racially motivated crime in Buffalo. A guy went in a store and killed 10, 11 people.
A young racist white man at 18 years old went into a store and shot a bunch of elderly black people with a AR-15. Yeah.
And had plans for additional carnage, had done prior reconnaissance, wrote a manifesto, and the underlying grievance, let's call it, of the shooter, the great replacement theory, or whatever they call it, what Rhymes with Tucker's been talking about on his show for a long time, that basically the Democrats just open the spigot to illegal aliens, to illegal immigrants, and then we make them all, voters. Now, how that happens, there's a lot of steps.
And apparently they're all Democratic voters. I mean, this is just, of course, asinine, because every single one of those conservative, especially guys like Tucker and Bannon and these other
Let's not forget Ron Johnson. He's been down on this.
And let's not forget, of course, Donald Trump himself. Remember, some of the Mexicans, I'm sure some of them are good people.
And the murderers and the rapists.
Yeah, right. So I mean, this is the tenor of the Republican leadership and the Republican media right now. And every single one of them, at some point, were immigrants to this country. And every single one of them, or their grandparents or their great-grandparents, whatever, right? Everybody who's talking about this is an immigrant into this country. And their big concern that somehow, that they're going to all vote Democratic? Well, they're the sons and daughters and granddaughters of immigrants, and they're pushing white replacement GOP.
Yeah, but their grandparents did it the right way and came through Ellis Island, before there were actually immigration laws here. They did it the right way. They waited their turn.
I'm sure that's their real name too. I'm sure that's their real
yes, name. Exactly. So it is. So how much, really, and I've read through today prior to the show. It's just so tragic. Washington Post and New York Times have some breakdowns of the victims of this mass shooting in Buffalo, this mass killing, this terrorist white supremacist terrorism in Buffalo. I mean, Catherine Massey, 72 years old, 72, known for her civil rights advocacy. A year ago, after the cousin of a state lawmaker was fatally shot, she wrote a letter to the editor of the Buffalo News calling for stricter federal gun control measures. She was shot and killed by this kid, Ruth Whitfield, 86 years old, 86 years old, devoted parishioner for 50 years at Durham Memorial AME Zion Church, where she sang in the choir. Her daughter-in-law said she lived in Buffalo for more than 5 decades, raising 4 children. Recent years, she's been taking care of her husband, who was in a nursing home, had 8 grandchildren, shot dead. Why? Because apparently this guy was concerned about her, replacing him? I mean, of course, there's no logic here. It's just pure hatred. And that hatred continues to be supported, driven, stirred up by people like Trump, by people like Carlson, who put this out there. They say, hey, your race is in danger. Your race is doomed. Ted Nugent saying, hey, you guys need to go out there and bust some heads. This kind of mentality. Well, maybe they think is bluster, but it obviously has some impact. And for a young child, an old child, a young man at 18 years old to write a 100-page manifesto to put the N-word on his gun, to go out and kill a bunch of elderly Black people because of replacement theory, it's just insanity.
844-967-2789. What about Stefanik, Elise Stefanik? She is the congresswoman from New York. This is her district, I believe, Buffalo. And Stefanik specifically parroted much of the language of the Great Replacement Theory in campaign ads that she pushed on Facebook trying to get reelected. And she has ascended into Republican leadership. She's number 3. And when people tried to hold her accountable for her prior statements, let's just say, Dom, well, how dare the left try to characterize her with her own words? They've gone to a new low, right?
And attempting to hold her responsible for the things that she has said.
Well, of course, you're misconstruing, you're taking it out of context. And the fact that Republican leadership does not punish the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Paul Gosars that go and then appear at white nationalist conference. The headliners are Republican Congress people at white nationalist conferences. And the Republicans leadership, Kevin McCarthy and Elise Stefanik, she's number 3. Did they boot him off their committees? Not for that. Not for that.
No, you only get booted off of committees and taken out of leadership if you, for some reason, have the gall to try and hold Donald Trump and the Republican leadership responsible, of course, the rank and file in Congress and the Senate, for inciting an insurrection and planning a coup against this country. If you're Republican and you take some issue with that, then at that point, you will be punished. But if you're just, just a little racist, if you're just dancing around the edges and just trying to motivate your voters to come out and vote for you, just sprinkle a little white replacement theory on there. I mean, what are you going to do? That's just politics, right?
Well, Dominic, it is good for politics, at least as they would perceive it. I mean, and it's a sad trade-off, human life, a little bit of carnage, a few mass shootings. But did you see the engagement level amongst the Republican base? Isn't it all worthwhile if they can just win the House and win the Senate and impeach Joe Biden? Wouldn't that make it all worthwhile? Because it is very engaging. I mean, look at the right, between the big lie and the racism. Oh, they're fired up.
Oh, they engage.
Oh, and one last thing. It's great for fundraising and grifting and ratings and cashing out on those ratings. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
Beautiful places are always in danger of being overrun by the worst people. Ask anyone who grew up in Aspen.
I know what I saw.
Hear history as it happens, only on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Hey, Jimmy, it's Rocker. Meet me at the new Dark Horse Art Bar in East Wash. Happy hour is Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. You pick the day. 2-for-1 rail drinks and slices of Sal's tomato pies for $1. Jimmy, it's happy hour at the Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington in Madison, across from the Sylvie.
Madison's newest happy hour, craft cocktail, local art and music. Find out more at the new Dark Horse Art Bar and Gallery, online at darkhorsemadison.com.
This is Chad Spate. In 1992, I moved to Madison to pursue a PhD at UW, and I started a residential remodeling company called Chad's Carpentry. I was eager to make a difference, to change the world, and I soon realized that our remodeling company was a great place to start. We pride ourselves on understanding how houses work so that your home improvement project actually improves your home, and we love what we do. To learn more, go to chadsdesignbuild.com, and thank you, Madison, for 30 great
Buffalo shooting. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Zanetta Everhart's son, Zaire, survived Saturday's shooting in Buffalo that left 10 blacks dead inside a grocery store and its parking lot. He's been released from a hospital. She adds people in this country seem to be talking around and over, but never directly about racism.
We do not talk about race and racism in this country. We talk about it, but the people at the table are speaking different languages and no one understands each other. They're not getting to any solutions. The talk is just talk. It's not solution-based talk.
The suspect, an 18-year-old white man from New York State, is thought to have posted a manifesto online about his racist beliefs. The gunman also live-streamed the shooting. Southern California investigators say the gunman in a deadly attack inside a church yesterday was a Chinese immigrant motivated by hate for Taiwanese people. One parishioner, Dr. John Cheng, was killed as he tried to disarm the suspect. Others in the church were able to detain and tie up the man. I'm Tim McGuire.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The first cohort of students to receive 4 years of free tuition through the University of Wisconsin-Madison's Bucky's Tuition Promise received their diplomas this past Saturday. In February 2018, they announced the use of private donations to offer 4 years of tuition-free college to students from families with lower income. There were 796 students enrolled under the Bucky's Tuition Promise this year. Since then, income requirements have been raised as the number of students participating has also increased. Boris Epstein, a former campaign advisor to former President Donald Trump, who helped recruit Republicans to falsify claim to be presidential electors in battleground states Joe Biden won, has joined Tim Ransom's campaign for governor of Wisconsin as a consultant. The University of Wisconsin Board of Regents has selected Jennifer Mnuchin as the next chancellor to lead UW-Madison. Her appointment will take effect August 4th. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday Happy Hour, rolling through it with your phone calls, 844-967-2789. And the happiest happy hour, Dom, is the night before the party. Because the night after, you got a big pounder and probably got to clean up a mess. And the day of, you're in the party, you're in the woods, can't see the party and forest. But the day before, when it's just the anticipation of a rager, that is the best day, I think. And today is Jade Monkey Eve. Come join us on the deck at the Jade Monkey, doing a live broadcast tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock. Admission, nothing except a good time. And we're going to be joined by John Nichols in the 4 o'clock hour, Joe Parisi, the county executive, Dane County, in the 5 o'clock hour. And all of you, if you can hear my voice, come on down. The funkiest of all the finer of Hawks neighborhood bars, the Funky Monkey, the Jade Monkey. And Don, before we get to the phones, we're talking about the racial targeting of these victims in Buffalo, and the inspiration perhaps is Republicans. I mean, it's part of their party. They moved it from the fringe to the main line. And I found it interesting. I found this little story over the Raw story about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's the one that went and spoke to the white nationalist, and didn't even get any slap on the wrist from Kevin McCarthy,
No, totally fine.
We talked about it, and what's the punishment? Nothing. Nothing. That's not the kind of stuff we punish. Well, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican from Georgia, blamed the media this week because she said people believe that she is angry or crazy or unintelligent. They created me as someone to not be liked, Greene told a conservative podcast host, Lisa Booth.
I mean, maybe work on your personality a bit. I mean, maybe some of that's you.
They make me out as if I'm angry or crazy or basically just unintelligent, which was completely unfair. But they say give them all the isms, is like the racist, the homophobic, anti-Semitic. Maybe that's the Jewish space laser she reportedly referenced prior, Marge. They put all those labels on me, and none of them are true. That's pretty frustrating. So I think people get the wrong idea about me, she added. Now, Dom, during the interview, Greene also complained about arming Ukraine while American mothers are not able to find baby formula.
I mean, listen, regardless of what any politician says, be it a Republican or a Democrat or any flavor or color you're down with, it's not what they say. Hell, they can apply this to people as well. It's what they do. You could say you're not anti-Semitic, but if you claim that there's Jewish space lasers starting fires in California for some nefarious purpose, one might think that perhaps you're being a little anti-Semitic. I'm just suggesting maybe if you didn't say those kinds of things, that would not be interpreted as such.
Well,
One of our attorneys is a Jew.
Now, that's not technically Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's Roy Moore's wife, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Roy
Kayla Moore.
Yeah, that's Kayla Moore. That's explaining why they're not anti-Semitic.
Or transphobic. Something about the
transgisters.
Here is
transgender.
You're good, Brian. Here is what Marjorie Taylor Greene reportedly said. Our government, it's not the same government. It's a regime. They're communists. They're waging a war against America, Greene opined. Anyone that went inside the Capitol on January 6th, whether they just walked around or they fought with police officers or they broke their way in, no matter what level they were on, they have become political targets. They've been arrested. They're being prosecuted.
What?
I don't know why she thinks anyone finds her unintelligent
or crazy.
As she slammed Nina Jankowicz, she's the one that's going to head up Joe Biden's disinformation board. As she slammed Nina Jankowicz, who has been selected to lead the Department of Homeland Security disinformation board, here's what she said. The Ministry of Truth is absolutely absurd. And that woman, we have a lot to say about her, but you don't like it when people say stuff about you, Marjorie. The very idea that they can make her the decision maker of what's true and what isn't true. And she's just clearly a far left woman who seems miserable in her own right. Miserable, I tell you. And I just feel sorry for her child to have that kind of mother. I mean, I've seen your toes. I can't imagine what your children must have inherited down the gene pool and the DNA, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but she can do some CrossFit pull-ups pretty good, though. So again, and you can just Google.
Proves that evolution's just a theory, at least in the Greene family.
If you're speaking on a white
evolution, I believe in God.
Well, that's Becky Kleefisch. But
if you, as Marjorie Taylor Greene, no, was that Brian? Was that actually Marjorie Taylor Greene?
That
who
was
said
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
My bad. Sorry to interrupt you, Dom.
Play it one more time, please, Brian.
I don't believe in evolution. I believe in God.
And then she talks about the Jewish space laser as we mentioned, and then of course we also mentioned she spoke at a white nationalist forum rally, whatever you want to call it. I mean, those are things that you wouldn't do if you weren't racist or anti-Semitic. Those are behaviors that one engages in if you are perhaps one of those things. So if you're gonna do it, then take the heat, man. Take the heat. I'm a crazy ass racist four-toed troll from Georgia. And if you don't like it, too bad for you. Okay? At least you're honest and straightforward. That's the most honest and straightforward thing she could ever possibly say. but it's not that. Don't complain about being called what you are when you engage in it. Tom, you're just a short pot smoking, think you know it all on the radio. Yeah. Okay. What's the ism for that?
Dom, apparently when she went to that white nationalist conference, she was a little confused because, they left her this embroidered pillowcase, said KKK on it. And then she realized, well, it must be for her because they put her initials, Crazy Cracker Karen, on there. Crazy with the K. Kind of like she's classy with the K, Dom.
I'm trying to find it. Oh yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know it's just Google search. I'm thinking, what? I know she said some crazy crap before, so I just wanted to find one just for the record. Business Insider, just the headline. We won't get into it. Marjorie Taylor Greene used the racial slur to hype diversity at the MAGA movement, describing some as yellow people.
KKK. That's not good.
844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC. Welcome back, Mark. What do you got for us?
Crazy for being so margy. Crazy for saying so much stupid too. She's just nuts. I mean, and it just the whole craziness that is overtaken the party is just ridiculous. That, I mean, we need more guns, for God's sakes. And I'm somebody who has more than a few, and I mean, I don't feel the need to be carrying some kind of replacement for my manhood around and threatening people with it. I mean, that it is just, I don't know. I mean, let's say maybe they didn't need they have to do background checks, because that kid shouldn't have passed a background check because he had made threats at the school apparently he was at, and they just kind of poo-pooed it. I mean,
they did. They did. He made threats at the school prior to his graduation. They held him actually overnight, maybe a day and a half. They held the kid, and apparently the laws that some of the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin say are totally fine, perhaps are different in New York. The laws said, well, I mean, he can get it. He passed the background check. Apparently, the gun shop owner, felt bad, but if he passed, he passed. And but that's the law. That's the law. And then maybe we should do something. I don't know, just around the edges to maybe think that if you add something to the legislation that says if you've been held overnight in the last 12 months, you can't get a gun. Something like that. But
I'm angry now.
I want my gun now.
I got to tell you, I'm just a little offended by Mark's call, and I appreciate Mark listening. But you leave the singing to me and Betsy around here, Mark. And also the test for worthiness, to possess or brandish a firearm, a weapon, if you will, Dom.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it should be penis size. For those with shrinkage, no guns.
They're extra angry. Is that what it is?
I suspect they might be. I don't know. Are you?
I was in the pool.
844-967-2789. Dick from Madison, you are next. Welcome. Happy hour, Dick.
Hey,
what
Dick.
do you got today?
Well, guys, I can totally believe she doesn't believe in evolution. I mean, she's somewhere stuck between Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal. I don't know how that all went anymore. I forgot. It's been so long, but she's somewhere in there.
Even those terms, man, it's according to someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's just all God's plan. I mean, the earth is 6,000 years old. So any thought of any, being or, conscious being existing prior to then, well, that was just God putting bones in the ground, right? 6,000 years old.
Yeah. I thought she was actually describing herself quite well. But anyway, tomorrow is going to be quite interesting too in Pennsylvania. We got a crazy
election
doctor.
Day.
Yeah, a crazy doctor, a crazy hedge fund manager, and a crazy insurrectionist. What could go wrong there? A friend of mine said yesterday when we were talking, and I agree with him. I hope the Republican Party starts putting up the most crazy, crazy people, and
that's how they'll go away this fall, because, you know, all three of these people are certifiable in my opinion, but, you know, my God, this woman that just got herself involved in this thing.
You mean
know,
the
here
Trump
she is.
endorsed candidate?
Yeah.
Barnett,
yeah,
I believe her name.
No, I thought Trump was behind Oz.
Yeah, I thought Trump was not behind. He was trying to tell people not to vote for that person.
No. He's even stumped with Oz.
With Oz, yes,
Yeah,
but not
so-
the Burnett person that the recruiter's referring to.
No. So it's kind of an odd situation. But, you know, he'll clearly say, whoever wins, that's who I back. It won't matter what he said a week ago. But it's going to be really interesting, in my opinion, tomorrow to watch this play out. I mean, I just don't get it. Why not go for the craziest?
What
And
do you
then
think
let
about
the
the
chips fall-
Dick? What do you think about the news that Fetterman, the probable nominee of the Democratic Party, the current lieutenant governor, the mountain of a man, he's like 6'8", he's got the bald head, and he had a stroke on Friday. Now, apparently, it was a very mild stroke. I've already seen video of him post-stroke. He and his wife, you know, sort of addressing their prospective constituents. But man, I haven't heard news that bad since Bernie had a heart attack during the primaries.
No, me either. And it's very unfortunate, you know, 24 hours before you go to the polls. Who knows what's going to happen? But this Barrett, she's crazier than an outhouse rat. All three of them are. And I say, bring on the craziest of the crazy in all of these races. And I think that the Democrats can make some hay this fall.
Oh my God. Dick, thanks for the call, man. I mean, I don't, yeah, probably that's the case. I mean, if that's what it takes to motivate their base and the Republicans and, you know, get the QAnons out and the megas, the super megas out. I mean, I guess, and I hope you're right, man. I hope it turns their independence off, and I hope it motivates the hell out of the Democrats and the progressives who are just aghast at what is going on with this other political party.
You know what motivates Democrats? A party at the Jade Monkey with the Devil's Advocates, baby. Tomorrow's the big party. This show ain't done yet. Come back with us. More Devils. More of your phone calls. 844-96-PARTY.
I don't believe in evolution. I believe in God.
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Listen to him, man. He's just crazy enough to do it.
Transgender troops in our bathroom.
I was in the pool.
Right now, we all feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone, the isolation can be overwhelming. Connect with an older loved one and have the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorrEconnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
You recall the Capitol insurrection? A post-ABC News poll showed 54% said Trump should be criminally charged for inciting the riot. That's like a litany of criminal allegations against the former president. You can say it's all partisanship and a witch hunt, but there wasn't one credible accusation against Obama during his entire 8-year term. So how Republicans just ignore all the evidence? I mean, he was perpetrating a coup on multiple levels.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Monaco Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice hard seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MonacoBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice hard seltzer.
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
It's okay to have questions. Now, get the facts. Visit GetVaccineAnswers.org
so that you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy hour to us all. Join us for the last segment of the day at 844-967-2789.
And literally, you can join us for the soiree tomorrow at the Jade Monkey Cocktail Lounge, 217 Cottage Grove Road. Looking forward to a couple of fine guests already confirmed. We got John Nichols in the 4 o'clock hour. We've got Dane County Executive Joe Parisi in the 5 o'clock hour. And Dob, you're coming down early. 4 o'clock, you'll be on the air with me. So the happy hour, it's going to start early. The happy hour starts at Hawks Fighter Neighborhood Bars at 4 anyways. So, we're doing nothing but happy hours tomorrow. They're all happy.
All hours tomorrow are going to be happy. That's the rule.
And then the first rager of the summer to follow, we're going to have a good time. You're going to be there. I guarantee a good time. If you don't have a good time, Dom will personally do a little song and dance for you. He will show you a good time. And if that doesn't work, take him out to the Kumbaya circle in the back, and they'll be having a good time.
We'll hang out by the fire pit. You know what I mean?
Wisco Paul, welcome back, man. Hope you're at the party tomorrow, Paul.
Hey, Paulie.
Yeah, good afternoon, Devils. Yeah, partying with you guys is always cool, especially the Jade Monkey. I've been there twice. It's totally cool. Hey, I just want to mention, when you think it can't get any worse with guns and shootings, it does. It gets worse. And the Republicans can't, well, they really don't have
Thoughts and prayers, Paul. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, there you go.
Loony people, somewhere someone should do something about mental health, but it's not an appropriate time to talk about gun regulation.
Well, it sounds to me like the Republicans' answer is more guns. Everybody needs a gun. I mean, I don't know. Hey, if the Republican Party, well, I don't understand the whole thing anymore. I mean, I especially the gun thing. You've reached a point where, well, maybe I'm getting a little carried away, but I don't know if you're safe even go to the grocery store and stuff. I mean, Jesus, I don't know.
Yes. Paul, are you perpetrating drug crime? I'm going to put you down for a no on this one, Paul. If you are, don't tell me on the radio, okay? It's not good for you.
I'm going
to put you down for I'm not perpetrating drug crime. You're probably not part of a street gang. You're not fighting any turf wars. So, Paul, the greatest likelihood that you would ever be a victim of gun violence is from Mrs. Wisco, man. Domestic violence. Don't cross that lady. She'll shoot your ass. So other than the highly unlikely scenario where Mrs. Wisco Paul shoots Wisco Paul, you could be safe going to the store.
Well, I mean,
sure,
but there's lots of highly unlikely scenarios, and that doesn't mean we don't react as a society to them. I mean, look what happened after 9/11. It's highly unlikely, right? All of a sudden, next thing you know, everyone's taking their shoes off for years. It's highly unlikely.
Well, the shoe bomber guy, that not only was that unlikely, it was implausible. But 9/11, we were forewarned that 9/11 was coming. We've been forewarned for years that these mass shootings are coming, because every mass shooting is a warning that the next mass shooting's coming. And every time Republicans react with thoughts and prayers and not a whole hell of a lot of action.
You see the contrary reaction versus 9/11, huge reaction. Mass shootings, zero reaction.
Well, if it was,
you know what I'm saying?
A Muslim targeting white people mass shooting, or even a black man targeting, let's say, 11 white guys, you might see immediate change in the gun reform laws, at least on a state level. I bet you Buffalo would be looking at it.
Oh, back in the day, the Black Panthers armed themselves, and next thing you knew, there were all sorts of gun laws on the books.
844-967-2789. CJ, curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah, CJ, give us a Durham Sussman update, man. What happened today?
It's a beautiful thing, gentlemen. Justice. That's something that's going to be done. And what's really crazy is that the Hunter Biden administration nominates this Nina Jankowicz, who spread more rumors than anybody, and Mayorkas is like.
Actually, Trump lied more than anybody, CJ.
Dude, you're on your fourth topic and you've only been on the phone for like 18 seconds.
No, dude, come on, man. Come on. Let's talk about Sussman. Today's the day, right? Sussman, this is what you're waiting for. Justice. Did you see any headlines? What do you know about the Durham Sussman trial today?
Well, it wasn't leaked yet, but John Durham is going to do us justice. And this Nina Jankowicz, what a joke.
All right, man. Well, there is actually reporting on it. They did go today. They did pick a jury today, and this is going on right now. So there's nothing to be leaked, man. This is a trial. You can go find it if you do an internet search. And I appreciate you want to bring up, all 4 or 5 things you saw at the top of the foxnews.com website, but I just don't have the patience for it today, CJ. Try tomorrow when we're maybe a little more festive mood.
And tired, and he wants to go home.
Right. I'm not a fan of the mass shooting, terrorist, racist, murderer shows. Those are a little tough on me, CJ. So forgive me if I can't put up with your BS as much as I normally do. Try again tomorrow.
844-967-2789 for a change, CJ. I didn't even crap on you. Pizza Box Mike, welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Mike.
Did I just hear C- on the last call?
Yeah, that's Clay.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect from a Nazi sympathizer? Okay, which is what every Republican voter is at this point. You're a racist. You're a fascist. You're a Nazi sympathizer. You know what they called the German people that didn't, stand up against Hitler? Sympathizers, which is what we have in the entire Republican Party from top to bottom. It's rotten to the core, and I'm ready for this battle these guys think they're going to win.
The mega sympathizers. Pizza Box Mike, that is spot on, man.
Hey, man, did I see you messing with the turtle today? Did you get bit by a snapper?
No, that was a back claw. Just one nail did that. She was a big one, about 20, 25 pounds. But I couldn't believe she didn't turn around and try and bite me, so that's why I picked her up.
Why are you?
Usually they turn around.
Why are you endeavoring to pick up 25-pound snapping turtles that could snap you off at the wrist?
Well, because, it was, 2 feet into the road, and all those MAGA sympathizers like to run over them with their MAGA trucks. So I stopped it, blocked traffic, snuck around behind, picked her up, withstood that claw.
How do you know it was a her? How do you know it was a her?
They're out laying eggs, brother. The boys don't lay eggs, and they hardly ever move like that. She was covered in dirt, so I'm hoping she already laid her eggs, and I got her back to where she was going.
Nice work, Pizza Box, man. I love that kind of story.
And
Thanks,
Pizza
dude.
Box, per your namesake, did you offer the turtle some of your pizza? Sort of.
No, she wasn't real happy with me, but hey, you know what? I think I'll show up tomorrow. I'm in Iowa watching my nephew do a music production tonight with my mom, and then I'm going to go to the Jade Monkey, man.
Man, everybody should. Thank you all for listening to the Devil's Advocates, the Paul Revere Show. It's back on the air. Well, it's been back on, but Monday nights, the Paul Revere Show. Then tune in for Rick Smith, live coverage from Pennsylvania. Tomorrow's election day in Pennsylvania, and it's party day at the Jade Monkey.
It's your lips. It's so good. Welcome to the party, pal. Everybody's doing it.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business,